Chapter 1808. Yi Chen-feng, do you think we'll believe your nonsense? Wei Penghong was the first to jump out and shout. He absolutely didn't believe the news of the Demon God Palace being destroyed. Wei Shitong, Wei Zhonghai, and the others also revealed looks of doubt. After all, the terror of the Demon God Palace was deeply ingrained in their hearts. Even ordinary ancestor-level experts would find it difficult to destroy the Demon God Palace. Believe it or not, it's up to you. Yi Chen-feng revealed a contemptuous smile. Finished speaking, he turned around and wanted to leave. Stop, where do you think you're going? When Wei Penghong saw that Yi Chen-feng wanted to leave, he immediately stood in front of Yi Chen-feng and said gloomily, What, you want to stop me? Yi Chen-feng's pupils shrank. A powerful killing intent spread out from his body and exploded into the depths of Wei Penghong's heart. His heart trembled and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. He couldn't help but take 3 steps back. What do you want to do? Wei Penghong's throat rolled as he braced himself. Wei Penghong, do you think I don't dare to kill you? Yi Chen-feng's killing intent was awe-inspiring. Penghong, why haven't you left yet? Wei Shitong was clear about Yi Chen-feng's lawlessness and believed that he really dared to kill Wei Penghong. Father, you can't let him escape. If he escapes, we won't be able to answer to the Li family and the Demon God Palace. Wei Penghong took a deep breath and suppressed the fear in his heart. Looking at Yi Chen-feng's proud back, Wei Shitong hesitated for a while before sighing and saying, Young Master Yi, you should leave. Don't ever come back. Hearing Wei Shitong's words, Yi Chen-feng didn't stay any longer and left the Wei family mansion. Father, why did you let him go? If the Demon God Palace knows that we let him go, they will definitely vent their anger on our Wei family. At that time, our Wei family will be consigned to eternal damnation. Wei Penghong anxiously said as he watched Yi Chen-feng leave. Penghong, do you think we can capture him alive with our Wei family's strength? Wei Shitong asked. Thinking of the scene where Yi Chen-feng humiliatedly Daimeng, Wei Penghong was speechless. Buzz buzz. Just as the entire Wei clan was shrouded in a layer of haze, the communication bead in Wei Zhonghai's arms suddenly vibrated. When Wei Zhonghai heard the contents of the communication bead, his eyes widened in shock. What's wrong, Zhonghai? Did something happen again? Wei Shitong asked in a low voice. Looking at the dumbfounded Quan Tian, Wei Shitong sensed something was wrong. According to the report of my Wei family's spies, the Demon God Palace has been set ablaze. It is suspected that someone has annihilated it. Wei Zhonghai took a deep breath and tried to suppress the shock in his heart. What? Wei Shitong, Wei Penghong, and the others all cried out in shock. Big brother, did your informants make a mistake? What kind of existence is the Demon God Palace? How could they be wiped out by someone? Wei Penghong couldn't believe this shocking news at all. Did my Wei family really make the wrong choice? Thinking of Yi Chen-feng's words, Wei Shitong immediately took out his communication bead and sent a message to his close friends to confirm the authenticity of the news. The Demon God Palace was really destroyed. After confirmation, Wei Shitong had no choice but to accept this fact. The Demon God Palace that stood at the edge of Aeon City for countless years was destroyed overnight. Father, do you think the Demon God Palace was destroyed by young noble Yi? Wei Zhonghai asked in a low voice as he looked at Wei Shitong, whose eyes were filled with deep regret. Even if it wasn't Yi Chen-feng, it must be the force behind him. Wei Shitong sighed deeply. My Wei family has missed a great opportunity. How could this be? Wei Penghong and his father fell into a deep panic. It could be said that their relationship with Yi Chen-feng had deteriorated to the extreme, and they were very worried about Yi Chen-feng's revenge. Yi Chen-feng even dared to destroy the Demon God Palace, so he wouldn't hesitate to kill them. Father, do you think it's possible for my Wei family to ease the relationship with young noble Yi? Wei Zhonghai angrily glared at the pale and uneasy Wei Penghong. If he hadn't instigated and shaken Wei Shitong's heart, perhaps the Wei family would still be on good terms with Yi Qinfeng. Difficult, too difficult. Wei Shirtong shook his head and fell into deep regret. Grandfather, maybe you can let me try. Wei Xinyue's eyes flickered as she bit her lips and finally made up her mind. Yes, Xinyue is one of the 4 beauties of Aeon City. Maybe she can move young noble Yi and make him forgive us. Wei Penghong was really afraid of Yi Qinfeng's revenge. Alright, go ahead and try. If there really is an opportunity to ease the relationship, my Wei family is willing to pay any price. Wei Shirtong sighed softly. It was late at night and the bright moonlight poured down, as if covering Aeon City with a layer of silver gauze. Just as the entire Aeon City was in an uproar because of the news of the demonic Dao Palace's destruction, Wei Xinyue arrived at the ancient courtyard where Yi Qinfeng lived. She wore a white chiffon miniskirt, which accentuated her tall and alluring figure. She had light makeup on her face, and her body emitted a fragrance. Under the moonlight, her long legs glowed. Young noble Yi, has something to ask of you. Wei Xinyue took a deep breath, adjusted her inner breath, and gently knocked on the courtyard door. Her clear voice floated into the quiet courtyard. Creak. Wei Xinyue waited in silence for a while before the closed courtyard door opened. What are you here for? Yi Qinfeng, who was drinking tea under an ancient tree in the courtyard, looked at Wei Xinyue, who wore a tulle short skirt and had an outstanding temperament, and said coldly, Young noble Yi, my Wei family was wrong, please forgive us. Wei Xinyue bowed deeply towards Yi Qinfeng and said apologetically. As she bowed, her plump jade peaks drooped down, and the enchanting arc burned the eyes, but Yi Qinfeng didn't give it a second glance. Yi Qinfeng took a sip of spirit tea and slowly said, I have nothing to do with your Wei family. Right or wrong is no longer important. Okay, it's getting late, you can go back. Yi Qinfeng ordered her to leave. Young noble Yi, I don't know what will make you forgive my Wei family. As long as you say it, my Wei family will be satisfied. Wei Xinyue refused to give up and continued to ask with a pitiful appearance. I already said, I have nothing to do with your Wei family. Yi Qinfeng coldly said, but you don't have to worry about my revenge. As long as you don't provoke me, I won't do anything to you. Young noble Yi, what if my Wei family is willing to give you the key to enter the ancient divine ruin? Seeing Yi Qinfeng's cold expression, Wei Xinyue revealed a trace of bitterness and hesitated for a moment before asking. The key to the ancient divine ruin. Yi Qinfeng slightly raised his head and looked at Wei Xinyue's charming face. It seems that your Wei family is not stupid. Okay, if you are willing to give me the key, I can leave behind an opportunity for your Wei family. Yi Qinfeng originally wanted to find an opportunity to let Long Xiaotian directly seize the key from the Wei family, but the Wei family took the initiative to ask. He knew that Wei Shirtong should have seen through his intentions. Thank you, young noble Yi. Hearing Yi Qinfeng relenting, Wei Xinyue secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Young noble Yi, before we came, grandfather said that other than the key to the ancient divine ruin, he also wants to give you something. What? Yi Qinfeng frowned slightly. Chapter 1809. Honey Trap. Looking at the charming Wei Xinyue with watery eyes, Yi Qinfeng smiled faintly. There was no fluctuation in his eyes at all. Young Master Yi, I know you are a divine dragon of the 9 heavens and I am not worthy of you. But if you are willing, I am willing to be your maid and serve you forever. Looking at the faint smile on Yi Qinfeng's face, Wei Xinyue gently bit her lips and said, Xinyue, find a good man to marry. Your happiness should not be tied to the fate of the Wei clan. Yi Qinfeng lightly said. Young Master Yi, alright Xinyue, it's getting late. Go back. As long as your Wei clan is willing to give me the key to the ancient divine ruin, I will fulfill my promise. Although Wei Xinyue was very beautiful, Yi Qinfeng had too many beautiful women by his side. He could no longer tolerate her presence, and ordered her to leave. Alright, I will bring the key to the ancient divine ruin tomorrow. Hearing Yi Chunfeng's repeated refusal, Wei Xinyue revealed a trace of sadness. She did not stay any longer and turned to leave. After Wei Xinyue left, Yi Chunfeng opened the restrictions in the courtyard and returned to the 5th level of the universe realm. He continued to comprehend the Time Divine Tree Branch, the Tao of Artifact Control, and the 3000 Transformation God Fist. The next morning, Wei Shitong, Wei Zhonghai, and Wei Xinyue arrived at Yi Chunfeng's ancient courtyard early in the morning to pay their respects to him. Wei Penghong and his son were already scared out of their wits and didn't dare to see Yi Chunfeng at all. After accepting the key to the ancient divine ruin from Wei Shitong, Yi Chunfeng ordered them to leave and continued to comprehend and cultivate in the universe realm. Soon, a year passed in the outside world. The uproar caused by the destruction of the demon palace gradually died down. In order to avoid causing more misunderstandings, Wei Shitong sealed the news. Wei Penghong and his father were even more afraid of Yi Chunfeng's revenge, and did not dare to spread the news that the destruction of the demon palace was caused by Yi Chunfeng. As for the Li clan who knew the inside story, they were even more frightened by Yi Chunfeng's bloody methods. They could only choose to swallow their anger and did not dare to retaliate. Phew, it's been 30 years. I've finally comprehended the rules of time reversal. 1 year in the outside world was equivalent to 30 years in the 5th level of the universe realm. In these 30 years, Yi Chunfeng, with the help of the God-devouring brain, successfully comprehended the laws of time reversal and perfected the Tao of equipment manipulation. However, the 3000 God-transforming fist was too profound. Yi Chunfeng had studied it for 30 years and could only unleash 50% of its power. If he wanted to cultivate the 3000 God-transforming fist to the extreme and unleash its strongest power, he still needed to continue comprehending it. Phew, it's time to consume that drop of blood. Feeling that he wouldn't be able to fully comprehend the 3000 God-transforming fist technique in a short time, Yi Chunfeng took out the ancestor god's blood sealed in the black crystal and swallowed it. He quickly refined it, increasing the strength of his Grand Mist bloodline and increasing his strength. Boom! When the blood of the ancestor god entered Yi Chunfeng's body, it was like an erupting volcano, erupting with shocking bloodline power that flowed through Yi Chunfeng's crisscrossing meridians and rampaged through his body. Grand Mist bloodline suppress. Feeling how terrifying this drop of blood of the ancestor god was, Yi Chunfeng immediately controlled the Grand Mist bloodline to suppress it. Although the blood of the ancestor god was powerful, it was powerless against the number 1 bloodline in the universe, the Grand Mist bloodline. It was instantly suppressed by the Grand Mist bloodline. Merge. After successfully suppressing the blood of the ancestor god, Yi Chunfeng immediately controlled the Grand Mist bloodline to merge with the blood of the ancestor god, increasing the strength of the Grand Mist bloodline and making a breakthrough to the 6-star Tao God realm. Time flew by quickly. Yi Chunfeng refined the blood of the ancestor god for close to 30 years in the 5th level of the universe realm. Finally, he completely refined it into the Grand Mist bloodline, making the Grand Mist bloodline even more powerful. He also raised his strength to the peak of the 5-star Tao God realm and almost stepped into the 6-star Tao God realm. Just as Yi Chunfeng endured the loneliness and focused on cultivating in the 30 times faster time flow, the remnant soul he left in the outside world sensed Wei Xinyue's appearance outside the ancient courtyard. With a thought, he left the universe realm and appeared outside. There's a matter. Looking at Wei Xinyue, who was wearing a long white dress and had an elegant temperament, Yi Chunfeng said indifferently, "Young Master Yi, the city lord is holding an antique trade fair at the Golden Glaze Pavilion tomorrow night. Grandfather asked me to ask if you are interested in participating?" Wei Xinyue looked at Yi Chunfeng's chiseled face and felt that he had become even scarier after not seeing him for 2 years. She asked softly, "Antique trade fair?" Yi Chunfeng's eyes lit up and said, I wonder what the scale of the trade fair will be like tomorrow night? Tomorrow night, the city lord will only invite the 6 strongest clans in Aeon City to participate. I heard from grandfather that the city lord might also take out some antiques to trade. Wei Xinhua said. Alright, I got it. Tell me the time and the location of the Golden Glaze Pavilion. I will be there on time tomorrow night, Yi Chunfeng said indifferently. This is the invitation. We will be waiting for young Master Ye's arrival at the Golden Glaze Pavilion tomorrow night. Wei Xinhua handed a glittering invitation card with a golden lion engraved on it to Yi Chunfeng. Antique Trade Fair. I hope there will be some gains. Yi Chunfeng glanced at the golden invitation card and returned to the universe realm to continue his cultivation. The sun was setting in the west, and the afterglow sprinkled down. The beautiful Aeon City was filled with specks of golden light that complemented the sunset, outlining an enchanting picture. This Golden Glaze Pavilion is really luxurious. Yi Chunfeng arrived at the foot of a green mountain early in the morning. The Golden Glaze Pavilion was built in a dazzling splendor. Looking at this famous building in Aeon City, he couldn't help but sigh at the extravagance of the Void God World's great powers. It's you are actually still in Aeon City. Yi Chunfeng took out the invitation card. After it was appraised, he entered the Golden Glazed Pavilion, which was filled with dazzling golden lights, melodious zither music, and blooming flowers. At that moment, a cold female voice rang in his ears. Mayor, who is he? A man dressed in gorgeous clothes and wearing a crown with an extraordinary bearing walked over slowly while holding the soft waist of Beishume, who had been thrown into the lake by Yi Chunfeng. He looked at Yi Chunfeng's unfamiliar face. A gigolo who relied on a woman from the Wei clan to climb up. Because of Yi Chunfeng, the Wei clan had directly annulled the engagement between Beishume and Wei Hengyi. This made Beishume feel extremely humiliated and angry. Fortunately, she had a hot figure and extraordinary means. She used her beauty and body to quickly hook up with the Qi clan's eldest young master, Qi Tiangu. What? Was the lesson I taught you last time not enough? Do you believe that I will throw you out again? Yi Chunfeng's pupils shrank as he looked at Beishume, who was constantly provoking him, and warned her coldly. After Yi Chunfeng exposed her scar, Beishume became even angrier. However, when she thought of Yi Chunfeng's terrifying strength, her insults were stuck in her throat. Motherf ***, how dare you threaten my woman? Beishume was a little afraid of Yi Chunfeng, but Qi Tiangu, one of the top playboys in Aeon City, was not. He glared at Yi Chunfeng and shouted loudly. Qi Tiangu's shout immediately attracted a lot of people. However, Yi Chunfeng rarely showed himself in Aeon City. Therefore, other than the Wei clan, almost no one had seen him before. Impudent! What are you doing? Just as Yi Chunfeng spat out a sword gleam from his fingertip, a dignified shout was heard. A one-star Dao god with a thick beard wearing golden armor appeared. Today is the antique trade fair held by the city lord. No one is allowed to cause trouble. Otherwise, I will break your legs and chase you out. Brat, just you wait. This is not over. Chapter 1810. Qi Family. A cold light flashed in Yi Chunfeng's eyes. However, Yi Chunfeng was very interested in the antique trade fair. He suppressed the killing intent in his heart and slowly walked into the Golden Glaze Pavilion under the suspicious gazes of the crowd. Who is that person? I've never seen him before. He doesn't seem to be from the 6 great families. He offended the Qi family and the Bei family. I'm afraid he won't have a good time. Many men and women who didn't know Yi Chunfeng hid together and whispered. In their opinion, Yi Chunfeng offended Qi Tiangu and Beishume. It was no different from courting death. Tiangu, what happened just now? Who did you have a conflict with? A tall man wearing a black robe with cloud patterns and a golden crown asked in a low voice when he saw Qi Tiangu walking over with Beishume, who had a hot figure and exposed a large area of snow-white skin and 2 seductive curves. His body emitted a faint sword intent. A pretty boy who wants to eat swan meat. I'll teach him a lesson after the antique trade fair. Qi Tiangu didn't take Yi Chenfeng seriously at all. He was prepared to take revenge after the trade fair and let him know how powerful he was. Tiangu, do you want me to use the illusion Dao intent to teach him a lesson and embarrass him? A man wearing a white martial arts suit, with long purple hair, deep eyes, and a strange totem engraved on his forehead, said with a smile full of evil intentions. Sure. Qi Tiangu's eyes lit up when he thought about how the white-robed man had cultivated the illusion Dao intent to an extremely high level. You guys wait here. I'll make him lie on the ground and bark like a dog later. The white-robed man revealed a sinister smile. He gently pulled a wine glass and slowly walked toward Yi Chenfeng. Kid, I heard that you're very arrogant and dare to offend anyone. The white-robed man walked to Yi Chenfeng's side. His eyes flickered with a sinister light as he spoke provocatively. Get lost. Looking at the white-robed man with malicious intentions, Yi Chenfeng didn't waste any time and said coldly, You really have guts. The white-robed man's face sank as his eyes that flowed with a violet light emitted a powerful illusion Dao insight that was like a myriad of stars that pierced straight towards Yi Chenfeng's eyes, and he wanted to use the illusion to control Yi Chenfeng's consciousness. Humph, you dare to provoke me with this kind of ability? Yi Chenfeng's saint will appeared in his eyes and instantly crushed the incoming illusions, forming a powerful force of illusions that blasted into the white-robed man's soul sea. Not good. The white-robed man hadn't expected that Yi Chenfeng's cultivation of the illusory Dao insight had far surpassed his own, and he instinctively wanted to dodge. However, Yi Chenfeng's sacred illusion Dao diagram was too powerful. It instantly took control of his mind and consciousness. Sima Jie has made his move. This is going to be a good show. Guess how Sima Jie will humiliate that little bastard. Feeling the aura of the illusory Dao insight, Qi Tian Valley and the others revealed sinister smiles as they looked at Yi Chenfeng, who stood with his back facing them. The more ruthless the better. I want to let him know the consequences of offending me. Thinking of the humiliation that Yi Chenfeng brought to her, Bei Shumei gnashed her teeth in hatred. Don't worry, I think he won't have the face to stay here soon. When he leaves, it won't be a matter of minutes for us to play him to death. The man in a black robe with cloud patterns took a sip of the fragrant wine and revealed a faint smile. This black-robed man was the #1 person among the younger generation in Aeon City. He had broken through to the one-star Dao God realm in less than 5,000 years of cultivation, and he was extremely talented, Sima Chongqing. Kneel. Just as Sima Chongqing and the others were waiting for the scene of Sima Jie humiliating Yi Chenfeng, a thunderous voice sounded. In the next moment, under the gazes of many pairs of almost stunned eyes, Sima Jie, who was arrogant and insufferably arrogant just now, knelt on the ground like a dog. Silence. Incomparable silence. Although Sima Jie's talent and strength were not as good as Sima Chongqing's, compared to the disciples of the other families, Sima Jie's talent and strength were more than one level higher. The Sima family was known as the #1 family in Aeon City, and no one dared to offend them. But now, one of the two heroes of the Sima family, Sima Jie, knelt on the ground like a dog. This shocking scene stunned everyone. How could this be? What happened to brother Sima Jie? Qi Tiangu's eyes widened as he said with a face full of shock. He couldn't believe what was happening before his eyes. Expert, that person is an illusion expert. He should have controlled Sima Jie's soul through the illusion Dao intent, Sima Chongqing said with an ugly expression. Yi Chenfeng knelt in front of everyone, and it was undoubtedly a slap to the Sima family's face. Go bite them! Just as Sima Chongqing was furious and was about to attack, Yi Chenfeng slowly turned around and looked at the gloomy Sima Chongqing as he coldly ordered. Roar! Sima Jie let out a roar that didn't sound like a human's, and he crawled on all fours like a dog as he opened his mouth and bit towards Sima Chongqing and the others. For a time, the dazzling hall with numerous enormous crystal lamps that emitted an aura of wealth fell into chaos, and it alarmed the guards. Bang! Just when everyone who didn't know what was going on approached to watch, Sima Chongqing swiftly pointed out with his finger, and it was like a cold star that pierced through the warehouse as it tapped on Sima Jie's head. The powerful force of his finger pierced into the depths of Sima Jie's soul and directly knocked him out. Young Master Sima, what exactly happened? Hearing the noisy noise, a white-haired old man in a snow-white robe, with a snow-white beard and a pair of bright eyes, slowly walked over with several guards of the city lord's mansion and questioned in a low voice. "I'm sorry, Elder Chu. My younger brother cultivates the illusion Dao intent and might have suffered from qi deviation. I'll order someone to send him back right now." Sima Chongqing used the corners of his eyes to glance at Yi Chunfeng, who had a cold and indifferent expression as he spoke apologetically. "Young Master Sima, the city governor gathered the 6 great clans to hold the antique trade fair today. Please restrain yourselves and don't let such a thing happen again. Otherwise, it won't be good for anyone." The old manager of the city governor's estate, Elder Chu, didn't believe Sima Chongqing's explanation at all and warned coldly. "Don't worry, Elder Chu. I guarantee that such a thing won't happen again." Although the Sima clan was the #1 aristocratic clan in Aeon City, they didn't dare offend the city governor, so he had no choice but to put down his pride and guarantee as he looked at the right hand of the city governor. Elder Chu nodded and turned around to leave with the guards of the city governor's estate. "Elder Chu, please wait." Meanwhile, Sima Chongqing used the corners of his eyes to glance at Yi Chunfeng and suddenly called out to Elder Chu. "Is there anything else?" Elder Chu frowned slightly as he slowly turned around and asked in a low voice. "Elder Chu, the city governor is holding the antique trade fair at the Golden Glaze Pavilion today and only invited the 6 great clans to participate. Moreover, his appearance is unfamiliar and isn't a member of the 6 great clans. I suspect that he's snuck in with ill intentions." Sima Chongqing suddenly pointed at Yi Chunfeng and made him become the target of public criticism. Elder Chu's pupils constricted as he looked at Yi Chunfeng, who had an indifferent expression and was neither happy nor sad, and his brows knit together tighter. "Childish. Sima Chongqing, I never expected that you're as childish as her. Do you know that she's already used this little trick? But in the end, she was thrown into the lake by me, whereas I'm fine." Chapter 1811. You being exposed by Yi Chunfeng in front of so many people, Bei Shumei was so angry that her face turned red. Her body trembled, and the flames in her eyes seemed to want to melt Yi Chunfeng. "Humph, am I wrong? You are not a member of the 6 great families, so what qualifications do you have to participate in the antique trade fair organized by the city lord?" Sima Chongqing coldly snorted, not backing down. "Young Master Sima is right. This antique trade fair only invited the 6 great families. Outsiders are not qualified to participate." Old Chu nodded. "If you are not a member of the 6 great families, then this old man can only ask you to leave." "What if I don't leave?" Before seeing the many antiques in Aeon City, Yi Chunfeng would never leave. In his eyes, Sima Chongqing was just a clown. If they really didn't know what was good for them, Yi Chunfeng wouldn't mind killing them with a wave of his hand. As for the consequences of killing Sima Chongqing, Yi Chunfeng didn't care. He believed that the Wei family, who wanted to befriend him, would take care of everything. "This is not up to you." Old Chu's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He was about to order people to drive Yi Chunfeng out. "Impudent! Chu Hong, who gave you the guts to drive out my Wei family's most important guest?" Suddenly, an angry roar resounded. Wei Shirtong walked in, accompanied by Wei Zhonghai and Wei Xinyue. He was wearing a flood dragon embroidered robe, and his body emitted a faint ancestral pressure. "Old Wei, He is your Wei family's honored guest? Old Chu didn't put Sima Chongqing in his eyes, but Wei Shitong was an important figure in Aeon City. Even City Lord Gu Jianglu wasn't willing to offend him. Moreover, from the ancestral pressure Wei Shitong was emitting, it was very likely that he had stepped into the half-step ancestor realm. That's right, young Master Yi is my Wei family's honored guest. Whoever dares to disrespect young Master Yi is my Wei family's enemy. After learning how Yi Chunfeng destroyed the demon god palace, Wei Shitong wanted to befriend him, so he overbearingly replied, "Who is this guy? He is actually worthy of Wei Shitong's protection. I was wondering why he dared to challenge Sima Chongqing. So it turns out that he has Wei Shitong behind him." Hearing Wei Shitong's reply, quite a few people revealed astonished expressions. The way they looked at Yi Chunfeng changed greatly. "Elder Wei, you should know that only members of the 6 great families are allowed to participate in the antique trade fair this time. Outsiders are not allowed." Although Elder Chu was annoyed by Wei Shitong's attitude, he did not dare to contradict him. He could only explain, You should be glad that young Master Yi is here. Otherwise, how many treasures can we take out with just a few great families?" Wei Shitong snorted coldly. Elder Chu didn't expect Wei Shitong to praise Yi Chunfeng so much. He was suddenly in a dilemma. Sima Chongqing, Qi Tiangu, and the others were even more surprised. They kept guessing Yi Chunfeng's identity. "Well, if the city lord asks, I will explain it to the city lord. Go do what you need to do." Wei Shitong waved his hand and said impatiently, "All right." Elder Chu looked meaningfully at the calm Yi Chunfeng and left with the guards of the city lord's mansion. When Sima Chongqing, Qi Tiangu, and the others saw that Yi Chunfeng had Wei Shitong's support, they did not dare to offend him, and quickly left. "I'm sorry, young Master Yi. I've caused trouble for you again." Although Wei Shitong had cultivated the 3,000 transformation god fist and successfully stepped into the half-ancestor realm, he was still very respectful to Yi Chunfeng and did not dare to offend him. "It's fine, just a few clowns." Yi Chunfeng shook his head and said indifferently, "Young Master Yi, the antique trade fair is about to begin. Let's talk inside." Wei Shitong said politely, "All right." Yi Chunfeng nodded. Accompanied by Wei Shitong, he came to the antique trade fair with a faint sandalwood fragrance and pots of green plants. "Elder Wei, congratulations on breaking through to the half-ancestor realm." When Yi Chunfeng, Elder Wei, and Sima Chongqing had just sat down, a deep voice sounded. A middle-aged man in a white robe with white hair and gave off a scholarly feeling led Sima Chongqing and the others to the trade fair. When he saw Wei Shitong chatting with Yi Chunfeng while drinking tea, he immediately walked over. "I also broke through by luck." Wei Shitong put down the teacup in his hand and looked at the Sima family's patriarch, Sima Ju, and said indifferently, "By the way, Elder Wei, this is," looking at Yi Chunfeng who was sitting beside Wei Shitong and drinking tea in silence. Sima Ju's expression was indifferent as he asked in a low voice, "This is young Master Yi, a distinguished guest of my Wei family. If anyone dares to disrespect young Master Yi, they will be my Wei family's enemy." Wei Shitong said rudely, "Haha, Elder Wei must be joking." Sima Ju took the initiative to come here because he knew about the conflict between Yi Chunfeng and Sima Chongqing. He wanted to test Yi Chunfeng's identity. Seeing Wei Shitong's attitude towards Yi Chunfeng, he couldn't help but frown. Sima Chongqing looked at Yi Chunfeng with eyes full of coldness. "Patriarch Li has arrived." Just as Sima Ju was about to leave, a low voice sounded. Li Dai Meng died and Li Yifeng, who took her position as the patriarch, came with several experts of the Li family. Demon Palace was destroyed and Li Dai Meng died, causing the Li family's status in Aeon City to drop greatly. If it weren't for Li Yifeng's terrifying strength, the Li family might have been replaced by the Xie family or the Bei family and dropped out of the 4 great families. When Li Yifeng walked into the auction hall and saw Yi Chunfeng drinking tea in silence, his face changed instantly. Although there was no direct evidence to prove that the destruction of Demon Palace was caused by Yi Chunfeng, the timing of Demon Palace's destruction and Li Daimeng's death was too coincidental. He couldn't help but suspect that the mastermind behind the scenes was Yi Chunfeng. Yifeng greets young Master Yi. After hesitating for a while, Li Yifeng, who had just been in charge of the Li family for 2 years, quickly stepped forward and bowed deeply to Yi Chunfeng under the shocked gazes of Sima Ju and Sima Chongqing. Wow! Seeing Li Yifeng's action, the entire auction hall was filled with gasps. Pairs of horrified eyes were cast at Yi Chunfeng, who was calmly drinking tea in silence. Who the hell is this guy? He actually made Patriarch Li bow to him. Heavens, could he be a direct disciple of an overlord of the Void God realm? Looking at the indifferent expression of Yi Chunfeng, the experts of the major forces who had arrived early began to discuss and speculate about Yi Chunfeng's identity. Li family. Yi Chunfeng slowly drank the spirit tea in his cup under the horrified gazes of the crowd. Remember to keep your eyes open in the future and don't do stupid things again. Yes, Yifeng will remember young Master Ye's words. Li Yifeng's heart trembled. Through Yi Chunfeng's slow and careful words, many of his guesses were confirmed and his heart was filled with fear. Yi Chunfeng raised his head slightly, glanced at Li Yifeng, Sima Ju, and the others and said lightly, "All right, the trade fair is about to begin, you can all disperse." Yes. Li Yifeng said respectfully, while Sima Ju's eyes revealed a trace of annoyance. However, the shrewd Li Yifeng suppressed the anger in his heart and left with Sima Chongqing and the others. As time passed, more and more people from the 6 great families arrived, and the spacious trading hall was filled with people. Chapter 1812. Peak of the Half-Martial Ancestor Realm. Looking at the ancient Sky City Lord Gu Jianglu, the God-Eater brain quickly deduced his true strength. The demonic palace had been outside the Aeon City for countless years, but it had never invaded the Aeon City. It was probably because it was afraid of this person. Congratulations, Old Wei. You have broken through to the half-martial ancestor realm. With you in charge, the Wei family will prosper. Gu Jianglu, who had an extraordinary bearing, looked at Wei Shitong and congratulated him softly. As Yi Chunfeng was too unfamiliar and too young, he only glanced at him and skipped over Yi Chunfeng. Compared to the city lord, this old man's strength is not enough, Wei Shitong said with a smile. However, he believed that it would not be easy for Gu Jianglu to defeat him, as he had cultivated the supreme divine ability, 3000 Transformation God Fist. After exchanging a few words with Wei Shitong, Gu Jianglu said a few words to Sima Ju and the others before coming to the main seat to host today's Ancient Treasure Trade Fair. Alright, this Ancient Treasure Trade Fair will be the same as the previous years. Starting from me, everyone will take out their ancient treasures for everyone to appraise. Those who like it can exchange items with others. You are not allowed to use threats during the exchange. Gu Jianglu briefly explained the rules of the Ancient Treasure Trade Fair. He took out 5 extremely ancient treasures from his universe ring and suspended them in front of him. City Lord, may I know where these 5 ancient treasures came from? Is there anything special about them? Qi Hanqing, the patriarch of the Qi family, stared at the 5 ancient treasures floating in front of Gu Jianglu. He could not see anything special about them and asked, "I obtained these 3 ancient treasures in a place of opportunity when I was traveling in the Void God world. These 2 ancient treasures came from the ancient divine ruins. However, I have studied them for tens of thousands of years and have not been able to discover their secret. However, I feel that these 5 ancient treasures are extraordinary," Gu Jianglu said slowly. Yi Chunfeng glanced at the 5 ancient treasures that Gu Jianglu had taken out. He closed his eyes and controlled the God-Eater brain to sense them. Wei Shitong, Sima Ju and the others also released their powerful soul power to sense the ancient treasures. They wanted to appraise their value through the traces on the surface of the ancient treasures. Yi Chenfeng controlled the God-Eater brain to sense for half an incense stick's worth of time. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and looked at a walnut-sized, dark gray stone fruit that came from the primordial god ruins. City Lord, I would like to touch this stone fruit. Can I? Yi Chenfeng controlled the God-Eater brain to sense it several times before speaking. Sure. Gu Jianglu took a deep look at Yi Chenfeng's unfamiliar face and frowned slightly. In the end, he still handed the stone fruit to Yi Chenfeng. Ancient god blood, there is ancient god blood in this stone fruit. As Yi Chenfeng gently stroked the stone fruit's bumpy outer shell, his eyes lit up. Through this close contact, he could basically confirm that this stone fruit contained ancient god blood, and there was more than one drop. City Lord, I really like this stone fruit. What can I use to exchange for it? Yi Chenfeng asked. His words caused many people to look at the stone fruit in his hand. However, this stone fruit was too old, and it was incomparably hard. Not even a quasi-ancestral artifact could break it open. The experts of the various factions released their powerful soul force to appraise it, but none of them were able to determine its value. As long as you can take out a treasure that can move me, I will give you this stone fruit. Gu Jianglu smiled and said, but if it can't move me, then there's no other way. Okay. Hearing the contempt in Gu Jianglu's words, Yi Chenfeng did not mind. With a thought, he took out a fist-sized black god stone that could devour all light. I wonder if this black god stone can be exchanged for a stone fruit? Black god stone, seeing the black god stone in Yi Chenfeng's hand that could steal the light of heaven and earth, the silent hall could not help but be filled with gasps. Pairs of burning eyes were cast on the black god stone. The black god stone was a divine stone used to forge ancestral artifacts. Its value was immeasurable, and the black god stone that Yi Chenfeng took out was the size of a fist. If it was given to the Void God World's top refiner, they could definitely forge an ancestral artifact. Damn, where did this guy come from? He actually used a black god stone to exchange for a stone fruit. This is too wasteful. Could it be that the value of this stone fruit is greater than the black god stone? Absurd thoughts appeared in the minds of the experts of the various families. There were even some who prayed that Gu Jianglu would refuse the transaction. If that happened, they would have a chance to obtain the black god stone from Yi Chenfeng. Haha, I really underestimated this little friend. I didn't expect this little friend to have such an ancestral artifact. Coming back to his senses, Gu Jianglu could not help but look at Yi Chenfeng in a higher light and said, Good, since this little friend took out the black god stone for the transaction, I will give this stone fruit to this little friend. After saying that, Yi Chenfeng completed the transaction with Gu Jianglu and obtained the stone fruit that contained the ancient god blood. And with the ancient god blood inside the stone fruit, Yi Chenfeng was completely confident that he could break through to the 6-star Dao God realm in a short time. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone else who wants to make a transaction? After successfully obtaining a black god stone, Gu Jianglu couldn't help but reveal a smile on his face as he looked at the crowd and asked. After about an incense stick's worth of time, Li Yifeng used a half-ancestral pellet to exchange for a black bead. As for the others, because they couldn't appraise the value of the other antiques, they did not take the risk to make a transaction. After Gu Jianglu took out the antiques, it was the turn of the number 1 family of Aeon City, the Sima family. Ladies and gentlemen, this time, my Sima family has brought 6 great treasures. Among them, 3 are antiques, and the other 3 are supreme-grade transcendent saint artifact. After saying that, Sima Ju summoned the 6 great treasures, which floated in front of him, and said slowly. Yi Chenfeng controlled the God-Eater brain to sense the 3 great antiques in front of Sima Ju and looked at a skull. He felt that there was an incomparably powerful soul sealed in the skull. If the God-Eater brain could devour it, it could definitely evolve again. Just as Yi Chunfeng was about to take out the treasure to make a transaction with Sima Ju, the corner of Sima Ju's mouth slightly raised, revealing a trace of a crafty smile. He looked at Yi Chunfeng and said, "Young Master Yi, do you still have more black god stones? If you do, I will give these 3 antiques to you." Of these 3 antiques, only one has some value. The other 2 are trash. You want to exchange them for black god stones? Yi Chunfeng coldly snorted and said without any trace of politeness. "Young Master Yi, just now there was indeed some unpleasantness between you and Chongqing. However, you can't slander my Sima family because of this." The smile on Sima Ju's face froze and his voice gradually turned cold. Are you worthy of being slandered by me?" Yi Chunfeng coldly snorted and said, "If I didn't see wrongly, the antique on your left is an ancestral beast egg that has died for God knows how many years. As for the antique on your right, it is sealed with a long withered lingji mushroom. These 2 things are already dirty for me. You want to exchange them for black god stones? Venomous slander. These 3 great antiques are antiques that have been passed down in my Sima family for God knows how many years. Although my Sima family has never unraveled the secret, I can guarantee with my character that they are definitely not trash." Sima Ju said angrily. "Yes, I believe in Brother Sima's character. The 3 great antiques that he took out are definitely treasures." Qi Hanqing stood out to support Sima Ju and said, "Young Master Yi, let me give you a sentence. As a person, don't be narrow-minded and don't maliciously slander others. That will only lower yourself." Short-sighted. Yi Chunfeng shook his head and said, "Sima Ju, do you dare to make a bet with me?" "What bet?" Sima Ju slightly frowned and said, "Let's bet on these 2 ancient objects. One of them contains a dead egg, and the other contains a dead spirit mushroom. If I'm wrong, then I'll give you this black divine stone as compensation. If I'm right, then the ancient object in the middle belongs to me." Yi Chunfeng smiled as he took out a fist-sized black divine stone. "All right, for my Sima family's reputation, I will bet with you." Chapter 1813. Have you guys really decided to bet? Gu Jianglu took a sip of the spiritual tea. He looked at the calm Yi Chunfeng and the gloomy Sima Ju with a hint of interest. "Yes, I want him to take back his words of slandering my Sima family." Sima Ju nodded his head and said righteously. However, his eyes were fixed on the black divine stone and he couldn't take his eyes off it. "I've already said it. Are you worthy of being slandered by me?" Yi Chunfeng looked at Sima Ju with disdain and said disdainfully. Sima Ju did not expect Yi Chunfeng to be so hateful. He did not give him any face at all. "Keep being arrogant. You'll be crying later." Sima Ju had studied the 3 great antiques for over 10,000 years, but he still couldn't figure out their value. He didn't believe that Yi Chunfeng would be able to see through 2 of the great antiques with just one look. "Give me your antique." Yi Chunfeng put down the teacup in his hand and ordered. "Humph!" Sima Ju snorted coldly. He waved his arm lightly and sent the 2 ancient artifacts towards Yi Chunfeng. The 2 artifacts were about to hit Yi Chunfeng's body. Suddenly, the 2 artifacts seemed to have fallen into a quagmire. Their flying speed slowed down and they were easily caught by Yi Chunfeng. And this move he revealed caused many people to be extremely shocked. Demon Sealing Sword. Yi Chunfeng summoned the low-grade ancestral artifact, the Demon Sealing Sword. He poured golden Dao energy into the Demon Sealing Sword and activated more than 800 ancestral runes in the Demon Sealing Sword. This sword is an ancestral artifact. Everyone present could not help but cry out in surprise when they sensed the ancestral aura emanating from the Demon Sealing Sword. Even Gu Jianglu, who had remained calm despite the chaos, looked shocked. Although Gu Jianglu was a half-martial ancestor and had been in charge of Aeon City for countless years, he only had 2 half-martial ancestor artifacts and no ancestral artifact. Looking at the Demon Sealing Sword that was flowing with powerful ancestral runes and emitting ancestral might, His eyes widened and revealed a trace of greed. Motherf asterisk her, who the hell is he? How could he have an ancestral artifact? Seeing that Yi Chunfeng actually possessed the legendary ancestral artifact, Sima Ju felt an inexplicable sense of unease. Open! Yi Chunfeng bellowed. Surging energy surged into his right hand. With a roar, he swung the demon's sealing sword that shone with powerful ancestral runes and ruthlessly slashed at the first ancient artifact. Gotcha! Although the hardness of antiques surpassed that of quasi-ancestral artifacts, making it difficult for ordinary treasures to cut through them, the demon's sealing sword was extremely powerful. Yi Chunfeng then erupted with another 200 billion jin of strength. With a single slash, cracks appeared on the surface of the antique. The entire trading hall trembled under Yi Chunfeng's sword attack. If it wasn't for the fact that the transaction hall was shrouded in a powerful restriction, the aftershock of this sword strike would have been enough to collapse the golden glazed building. An ancestral artifact is indeed an ancestral artifact. It can even cut through such a hard antique. After witnessing the might of an ancestral artifact, the fiery light in Gu Jiangliu's eyes became even more intense. If he could take the demon's sealing sword for himself, he believed that with his peak quasi-ancestor strength, he would be able to contend against a one-star ancestral artifact. After one slash, Yi Chunfeng erupted with powerful energy. As if he was swinging a majestic mountain, he continued to slash at the cracked antique with the demon's sealing sword. After 13 slashes, this incomparably hard antique was completely shattered. Along with a foul stench, an ancestral beast egg that had been dead for God knows how many years was revealed. See? Am I wrong? Is there a dead ancestral beast egg in this antique? Yi Chunfeng threw the stinking ancestral beast egg to Sima Ju and coldly said, How can this be? Smelling the foul stench emitted from the ancestral beast egg, Sima Ju was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that Yi Chunfeng would be able to sense the authenticity of this antique with just a glance. All right, let's begin to crack the second antique. Looking at the pale Sima Ju who couldn't accept the truth, Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and continued to attack the second antique with the demon's sealing sword in his hand. Bang, 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 a series of heart-piercing vibrations rang out continuously. Under Yi Chunfeng's attacks with the demon's sealing sword, more and more cracks appeared on the second antique. Finally, under Yi Chunfeng's continuous attacks, the second antique was shattered. Withered Ganoderma. Looking at the withered Ganoderma exposed in the broken antique, Sima Ju's face was completely pale. He sat heavily on the armchair, unable to accept the truth. Now, do you believe my words? Looking at the dazed Sima Ju, Yi Chunfeng coldly said, Young Master Yi is indeed capable. I'm convinced. Sima Ju was also a character. Although the scene just now made him lose face, he quickly regained his composure and said, This antique belongs to young master. Saying that, Sima Ju let Sima Chongqing, who had an ugly expression, give the last antique, the skull, to Yi Chunfeng. Young Master Yi, I wonder what method you used to see through the antique. Gu Jianglu found that Yi Chunfeng wasn't simple. He had never seen someone who could see through an antique with a glance. Moreover, Yi Chunfeng had the ancestral artifact. This made him suspect Yi Chunfeng's identity. I guessed it. Yi Chunfeng smiled faintly and put away the skull. Then, he poured himself a cup of spiritual tea and drank it slowly. Gu Jianglu looked deeply at Yi Chunfeng and didn't ask any more questions. He continued to host the auction and asked, Ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone who wants to exchange the 3 top-grade Transcendent Saint artifacts? Ancestral artifacts were too rare, and there weren't many of them in the Void God world. Therefore, the top-grade Transcendent Saint artifacts were very popular. Very quickly, the 3 top-grade Transcendent Saint artifacts were exchanged. Originally, the Sima family was ranked first, Li family was second, Wei family was third, and Qi family was fourth. However, The demon god palace's destruction and Li Daimeng's death caused the Li family's overall strength to plummet. They fell to the bottom of the four families, and there were signs that they would be surpassed by the Bei family. Therefore, after the Sima family, it was the Wei family's turn to exchange their antique. Wei Shitong gave the 3 most precious antiques to Yi Qinfeng, so they only took out 2 antiques and 3 high-grade transcendent saint artifacts. Yi Qinfeng controlled the God-Eater brain to sense the Wei family's antiques and lost interest. After the Wei family, the Qi family, Li family, and Bei family took out their antiques one after another. When the 3 great clans took out their antiques, they all looked at Yi Qinfeng at the same time, hoping to trade with him or to let him appraise the value of the antique. Unfortunately, the antiques, transcendent saint artifacts, and transcendent saint pills they took out couldn't enter Yi Qinfeng's eyes. Yi Qinfeng sat in the armchair like an old monk drinking tea. He didn't even bat an eyelid. This made the 3 families feel helpless. Soon, more than 2 hours had passed. After the Bei clan and the Qi clan had completed their transaction, it was now the turn of the Xie clan, the weakest of the 6 great clans. After hesitating for a moment, the short Xie family's patriarch, Xie Wen, took out an item from his spatial ring and showed it to everyone. Chapter 1814. What my Xie clan is preparing to trade with you is a sword's resolve. Xie Wen removed the seal, revealing a fist-sized sword's core that was emitting a faint black light and flowing with powerful Tao intent. Ancestral sword's core. Swords' cores were the same as sword souls. They were ranked according to their color. A black sword's core symbolized that it had surpassed the sacred grade and reached the legendary ancestral grade. An ancestral grade sword's core was only a legend. Yi Qinfeng never thought that he would be lucky enough to see it. No matter what price I have to pay, I must obtain this ancestral grade sword's core. Yi Qinfeng decided inwardly as he stared at the black sword's core floating in front of Xie Wen. Not only was Yi Qinfeng interested in the black sword's core, but Gu Jianglu, Sima Ju, and the others were also looking at the ancestral grade sword's core with a burning gaze. It could be said that the ancestral grade sword's core's value exceeded ordinary ancestral artifact. If they could subdue the ancestral grade sword's core for their own use, it would definitely become a great trump card. Patriarch Xie, I like this ancestral grade sword's core very much. What do you want? As long as you say it, I'll trade with you. Gu Jianglu used his identity as the city lord to pressure Xie Wen. He wanted to obtain the ancestral grade sword's core. I want strength, absolute strength. If everyone here can give me the battle strength of a half-martial ancestor and give me a half-martial ancestor artifact, I'll give this ancestral grade sword's core to him. Xie Wen was also clear about the value of the ancestral grade sword's core. However, he had obtained it by chance and used any method he could think of to subdue it. Helpless, he could only take out the ancestral grade sword's core and seek a breakthrough in his strength. If he could possess the battle strength of a half-martial ancestor and obtain a half-martial ancestor artifact, Xie family would surpass Li family and become the 4th most powerful family in Aeon City. They might even become the leader of the 4 most powerful families in the near future and control countless resources. Patriarch Xie, I'm afraid no one here can fulfill your condition. Gu Jianglu had a half-martial ancestor artifact. For the ancestral grade sword's core, he was willing to take out a half-martial ancestor artifact. However, he knew that he couldn't let Xie Wen, who was a 5-star Tao god, possess the battle strength of a half-martial ancestor. That's right, Patriarch Xie, why don't you change your condition, maybe we can help you achieve it. Sima Ju nodded and agreed. Change the conditions. Taking out the ancestral grade sword essence was the same as forcing Xie Wen into a dead end. If he couldn't use the ancestral grade sword essence to exchange for what he wanted, this ancestral grade sword essence would most likely bring a calamity to him and the Xie family. Young Master Yi, are you willing to make a deal with me? Xie Wen gritted his teeth. Ignoring Gu Jianglu and Sima Ju's cold gazes, he looked at Yi Chunfeng. All right, I'll trade with you. Yi Chunfeng thought for a moment and put down the teacup in his hand. It's true. Young Master Yi, you can really help me possess the battle prowess of a half-martial ancestor for a short period of time. Xie Wen's eyes widened, revealing a trace of excitement. If not for the fact that Yi Chunfeng's actions had caused ripples in his heart, he might not have risked exposing his ancestral sword resolve. As for Gu Jianglu, Sima Ju, and the others, their faces became extremely gloomy, revealing a trace of killing intent. Yes. Yi Chunfeng nodded and took out the supreme treasures, the Desolate Stone, the Chaos Pearl, and a low-grade ancestral elixir that was sealed with a powerful seal. Although the Desolate Stone and the Chaos Pearl were very important to him, and fusing with these two treasures could raise his strength to the peak of a 6-star Dao God, these two items were not ancestral artifacts after all, and were far inferior to the Divine Blood Pearl. Once Yi Chunfeng broke through to the ancestral grade, these two items would be useless to him. Therefore, he took out these two treasures to exchange for the ancestral grade sword resolve. This is, looking at the three treasures that Yi Chunfeng took out, Xie Wen couldn't tell whether they were real or not, so he looked at Yi Chunfeng. This elixir is a low-grade ancestral elixir. If Patriarch Xie refines it, he can break through to the 6-star Dao God realm in a short period of time. With a thought, Yi Chunfeng removed the seal on the low-grade ancestral elixir. Instantly, a refreshing fragrance spread out from the ancestral elixir, filling the magnificent hall with the fragrance of the elixir. Just by smelling it, one's spirit would be greatly boosted. Low-grade ancestral elixir. Ancestral elixirs and ancestral artifacts were both extremely precious and rare items. Although Aeon City was a famous city in the Void God world, an ancestral elixir had not appeared for tens of thousands of years. And these two items are treasures that can raise one's strength. Once fused, it can raise Patriarch Xie's realm by one level in a short period of time. Looking at the excited Xie Wen, Yi Chunfeng continued. Really, these two treasures can raise my realm in a short period of time. One had to know that treasures that could raise one's realm were equally rare, and almost all of them were in the hands of the overlords of the Void God world. Yi Chunfeng nodded, forcibly removed the blood pact between the two treasures, and handed them to Xie Wen. If Patriarch Xie doesn't believe me, you can drip your blood on them now. At that time, you'll know whether I'm lying to you or not. Good, good. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Xie Wen bit his finger and quickly dripped his blood on the Chaos Pearl and the Desolate Stone to bind them to his body. Soon, he established a telepathic connection with the two treasures and attempted to fuse them. Although Xie Wen had just obtained ownership of the two treasures and could only display a small portion of their mysteries, he could clearly feel the increase in his strength and firmly believed Yi Chunfeng's words. Young Master Yi, as long as you give me another quasi-ancestor artifact, this ancestral sword's soul will be yours, Xie Wen said excitedly. Which one do you want among these three quasi-ancestor artifacts? Yi Chunfeng had obtained many quasi-ancestor artifacts in the Tomb of the Great Void. In addition to what he had obtained from killing ancestor-level experts, Yi Chunfeng had quite a number of quasi-ancestor artifacts on him. With a thought, he summoned the three quasi-ancestor artifacts, which floated in front of him. I want this quasi-ancestor saber. Xie Wen specialized in saber intent. When he saw the quasi-ancestor saber engraved with mysterious runes, he could no longer tear his eyes away. Okay. Yi Chunfeng nodded and handed the quasi-ancestor saber and low-grade ancestral core to Xie Wen. Under the envious gazes of Gu Jianglu and the others, he obtained the incomparably precious ancestral sword core. Young Master Yi, are you willing to trade these two quasi-ancestor artifacts? Seeing Yi Chunfeng's generosity and Wei Shidong's attitude towards him, many people could not help but suspect that Yi Chunfeng came from one of the Void God world's overlords. Sure, Each quasi-ancestor artifact can be exchanged for 10 supreme-grade Heavenly Saint swords. Although quasi-ancestor artifacts were much more precious than supreme-grade Heavenly Saint swords, if he could obtain 20 supreme-grade Heavenly Saint swords, Yi Chunfeng could form an even more powerful Cosmos sword array. This, young Master Yi, are other supreme-grade Heavenly Saint swords okay? Li Yifeng pondered for a moment and asked politely. I only want supreme-grade Heavenly Saint swords. Yi Chunfeng shook his head. Okay, I'll trade with you. Gu Jianglu took a deep breath and took out 10 supreme-grade Heavenly Saint swords to trade for a quasi-ancestor spear. Although the other families had supreme-grade Heavenly Saint swords, they could not gather 10 supreme-grade Heavenly Saint sword. Young Master Yi, I want to trade with you, but I need to slowly gather 10 supreme-grade Heavenly Saint swords. Is that okay? The more Wei Xinyue looked at the whip-shaped quasi-ancestor artifact, the more she looked at it, the more she liked it. She gently bit her alluring red lips and said, Sure. Yi Chunfeng glanced at the beautiful and charming Wei Xinyue, nodded, and very generously gave her the whip-shaped quasi-ancestor artifact. Damn it, this Wei family is so shameless, actually using a beauty trap. Looking at the charming Wei Xinyue with watery eyes, many families revealed looks of disdain. However, in their minds they were constantly calculating whether they should use this method to rope in the unfathomable Yi Chunfeng. Let's go back. Chapter 1815. Young Master Yi, you've exposed so many treasures in public today. You'll definitely be targeted. If you don't mind, why don't you stay in my Wei clan? Yi Chunfeng's actions today were too shocking. Even Wei Shitong was shocked. A bunch of clay chickens and pottery dogs, not worth mentioning. Yi Chunfeng shook his head. His calm voice revealed a domineering aura. Young Master Yi, I'll gather 10 supreme-grade Heavenly Saint swords for you as soon as possible. Wei Xinyue looked at Yi Chunfeng's chiseled face and said softly. No hurry. It doesn't matter if you can't gather them all. Yi Chunfeng smiled and said, You don't have to worry too much. Okay, I'm going back. With that, Yi Chunfeng left the dazzling golden-glazed pavilion alone and slowly walked back to the ancient courtyard. Sigh, I'm afraid Aeon City is going to change. Watching Yi Chunfeng's departing figure, Wei Shitong could smell a storm brewing and sighed in his heart. Returning to the ancient courtyard alone, Yi Chunfeng immediately opened the restriction and left a wisp of his soul in the courtyard before returning to the universe realm. Death Scythe, break for me! Yi Chunfeng held the supreme-grade ancestral artifact Death Scythe and slashed down a pitch-black blade shadow in the air, slashing at the skull. Crack! Under the attack of the Death Scythe, cracks appeared on the incomparably hard skull, and the restrictions on the skull were shattered. Immediately after, a powerful soul drilled out of the skull and turned into a ferocious demon face in the universe realm. It roared loudly at Yi Chunfeng. Universe realm, restrict. Sensing that the demon face had the soul power of a 3-stars ancestral artifact, Yi Chunfeng immediately controlled the power of the universe to surge over and form a mountain-like restriction that ruthlessly suppressed the demon face and restricted it. It roared furiously. God-Eater Brain, devour! When the demon face was suppressed by the power of the universe, the God-Eater Brain flew out of Yi Chunfeng's soul sea and turned into a terrifying devouring vortex that directly devoured the demon face. No, as the demon face roared furiously, it was forcefully torn apart by the devouring vortex, and its soul power was completely devoured by the God-Eater Brain. After devouring the soul of a 3-stars ancestral artifact, the God-Eater Brain split a large number of brain cells and gave birth to the embryonic form of a child brain. Keeping the God-Eater Brain, the soul, Yi Chunfeng summoned the ancestral sword Resolve, unlocking the seal on the sword essence. The sword the sword the sword s attack, The space crisscross Master St suppressed as when the Ancestor Grade Sword Resolve attacked, Yi Chunfeng immediately summoned the Primal Chaos Divine Wood. He controlled the Primal Chaos Divine Wood to block the Ancestor Grade Sword Resolve. The Primal Chaos 5 elements light swayed as it suppressed the Sword Resolve. Saint-level Sword Soul Fuse. As the Chaos Divine Wood was suppressing the Ancestral Sword Resolve, the Sacred Level Sword Spirit flew out of his Sea of Soul and into the Chaos Divine Wood. Borrowing the Chaos Divine Wood's power, it forcibly merged with the Ancestral Sword Resolve. Once the Saint-level Sword Soul fused with the Sword Soul, Yi Chunfeng's Sword Soul would undergo a qualitative leap and become a powerful Sword Soul with the power of an ancestral artifact. Phew, it's time to refine the 3 drops of ancient god blood in the stone fruit and break through to the 6-star Dao God realm. Yi Chunfeng held the death scythe and forcefully cut open the stone fruit. He extracted the 3 drops of dark gold ancient god blood that contained a vast amount of bloodline power and swallowed them into his stomach. He borrowed the immense bloodline power of the ancient god blood to break through to the 6-star Dao God realm. It was very difficult for a god-level expert to break through to the next level. Even if Yi Chunfeng had 3 drops of precious ancient god blood, it would be very difficult for him to break through to the 6-star Dao God realm in a short time in a 30-fold time flow. Fortunately, he had enough time to be patient. Yi Chunfeng quickly refined the ancient god blood and tried his best to break through to the 6-star Dao God realm. Just as Yi Chunfeng was hiding in the universe realm to break through to the 6-star Dao God realm, the entire Aeon City was no longer peaceful because of the antique trade fair. Investigate. I want to know the background and origin of that Yi brat. Although Gu Jianglu wanted to use the power he controlled to kill Yi Chunfeng and take everything from him, he was a little afraid of Yi Chunfeng's background. He had to suppress the killing intent in his heart and investigate Yi Chunfeng thoroughly. Not only was Gu Jianglu secretly investigating Yi Chunfeng, but the Sima clan, Qi clan, Bei clan, and Xie clan were also investigating Yi Chunfeng through various channels. Among them, Gu Jianglu even visited the Wei clan, who had a good relationship with Yi Chunfeng. He wanted to find out about Yi Chunfeng's identity through the Wei clan. However, Wei Shitong was not sure about Yi Chunfeng's true identity. No matter how Gu Jianglu tried to get information out of him, he did not get any valuable information. This made him very angry, but there was nothing he could do. Just as Yi Chunfeng was causing a commotion in Aeon City, the Li clan revealed an important piece of information. The reason why Yi Chunfeng had so many treasures was that he had most likely obtained the inheritance of an almighty from the ancient times. His true identity had nothing to do with the ancient overlord-level forces. Although no one knew the authenticity of the information revealed by the Li clan, it still caused many people to be restless. Patriarch, aren't you afraid that young Master Yi will seek revenge after you spread the information about him like this? A plump woman wearing a white chong sam with lotus roots and exuding a mature charm gently poured a cup of spiritual tea for Li Yifeng and said worriedly, "Don't you see that young Master Ye's intention is to expose so many treasures in public? He's waiting for the fish to take the bait. This way, he can legitimately deal with the other big clans. Also, since the incident with the Li clan, the other big clans have been suppressing us and trying to annex us. If we don't teach them a lesson, they will really think that the Li clan is easy to bully." Li Yifeng crushed the back carved out of white jade and revealed a sinister expression. The undercurrent in Aeon City was surging, but Yi Chunfeng had not shown himself. Soon, more than 100 days had passed in the outside world, and more than 3,000 days had passed in the 5th level of the universe realm. In these 3 days, Yi Chunfeng had successfully refined 2 drops of ancient god blood. In addition to greatly improving the purity of the primordial blood, he had also stepped into the 6-star Dao God realm. With the help of the Chaos Divine Wood, the Sacred Sword Soul had completely devoured the Ancestor-level Sword Soul. Once the fusion was complete, it would break through to the ancestor-level sword soul. And the God-Eater brain had completely refined the soul of the 3-star ancestor-level Almighty and completed another transformation. Not only did it split a soul fragment, but it also successfully split a soul devourer brain. The last drop of ancient god blood should be able to break through to the 6-star Tao God realm. Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and swallowed the last drop of ancient god blood into his stomach. Using the enormous bloodline power released by the ancient god blood, he continued to break through the broken bottleneck of the realm and tried his best to break through to the next realm. Kacha, kacha! Under the impact of the enormous bloodline power, Yi Chunfeng's bottleneck of the realm was constantly broken, and Yi Chunfeng gradually touched a higher realm. Chapter 1816. Phew, I've finally broken through. The moment he broke through, Yi Chunfeng spat out a mouthful of turbid air and woke up from his cultivation. His strength had increased by 50 billion jin, his strength had increased by dozens of times, and his grand mist blood's amplification time had exceeded 3 days. Feeling the changes in his body, Yi Chunfeng revealed a faint smile. Just the 3-day amplification of the grand mist blood was already incomparably heaven-defying. This meant that Yi Chunfeng could possess endless Tao energy for 3 days. Even powerful ancestor-level experts would be exhausted to death by him. After briefly consolidating his cultivation, Yi Chunfeng cleared away all distracting thoughts and began to fuse with the soul fragment that the God-Eater brain had nurtured. Invincible sword body. Yi Chunfeng spent several days fusing with the soul fragment. The soul fragment had an incomparably profound divine ability, the invincible sword body. Invincible sword body, this divine ability is simply tailor-made for me. After briefly understanding the invincible sword body, Yi Chunfeng was deeply shocked by the power of the invincible sword body. He was excited. The invincible sword body was a powerful physique that was forged by using the body as a sword. Once it was executed, 10,000 swords would return to the origin. With a raise of the hand, 10,000 swords would be released simultaneously. It could greatly increase a sword cultivator's attack power. More importantly, Yi Chunfeng had cultivated his sword soul to the ancestor level. At that time, when he cultivated the invincible sword body, his attack power would be unparalleled in the world. He would be able to easily kill an ancestor-level expert. Ancestral sword crystal, what is this? Yi Chunfeng browsed through the cultivation method of the invincible sword body, and the excitement in his heart disappeared. If he wanted to cultivate the invincible sword body, he first needed to find the ancestral sword crystal. Without the ancestral sword crystal, even if Yi Chunfeng grasped the cultivation method, he would not be able to cultivate the invincible sword body. The ancestral sword crystal was a powerful crystal formed from the sacred core of a sword expert after they passed away. It contained the sword expert's comprehension of the sword Tao when they were alive. However, in the long history of the Void God realm, there were not many almighty sword Tao experts, and it was even rarer for a sacred core to transform into an ancestral sword crystal. Therefore, to find an ancestral sword crystal was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. I'll go to the ancient god ruins first. I'll slowly search for the ancestral sword crystal later. Yi Chunfeng sighed softly. He memorized the cultivation method of the invincible sword physique and left the universe realm. Since the major forces can't find any information about me, they should be preparing to make a move. Just as Li Yifeng had guessed, the reason why Yi Chunfeng had made such a big splash at the antique trade fair and revealed so many amazing items was to arouse the greed of the major forces so that they could seize the key to enter the primordial god ruins. Yi Chunfeng took a simple bath and changed into a clean set of clothes. He left the quiet courtyard and slowly walked out of Aeon City under the setting sun. The news of him walking out of the city also spread to the ears of all the major forces at the first moment. Aeon City, which had just quieted down, became chaotic again. Many forces sent spies to observe Yi Qinfeng's whereabouts. However, Yi Qinfeng's background was too deep. No one dared to be the first to make a move. They were all waiting for the other forces to test Yi Qinfeng. Yi Qinfeng was in a good mood as he strolled around. When he walked out of Aeon City in the night, his sharp senses suddenly sensed danger approaching. Several ear-piercing sounds pierced through the night sky and approached him at a speed several times faster than normal. Assassination. Yi Qinfeng's expression did not change at all when he was suddenly attacked. You want to hurt me with just these assassins? You're too naive. Yi Qinfeng shook his head. More than 70 supreme-grade transcendent sacred artifacts broke out of his body. Under the control of his mind, they quickly rotated and formed an airtight sword tornado. They directly crushed the assassination attacks of more than 10 black-clothed assassins. When Yi Qinfeng was about to counterattack, he suddenly felt a huge formation diagram appear above his head. The formation diagram slowly rotated, causing the entire space to tremble. Endless energy poured into the formation diagram like rivers flowing into the sea, increasing the power of the formation diagram. Thick pillars of pitch-black lightning broke out of the formation diagram. With the power of annihilation, they bombarded Yi Qinfeng, who was inside the sword tornado. They wanted to break the sword tornado and seriously injure Yi Qinfeng. Formation diagram, it seems you've been waiting for me for a long time. Looking at the sword tornado that blocked the power of the formation diagram, Yi Qinfeng's eyes revealed a ruthless look. Today, let me drag you out one by one. Cosmos sword formation, give it to me. Yi Qinfeng's mind moved, and a supreme-grade transcendent sacred sword flew straight into the sky. With a terrifying killing power, the sword stabbed into the slowly rotating formation diagram. The powerful sword power instantly passed into the formation diagram, causing the entire formation diagram to tremble violently and crack. Whoosh, whoosh. When Yi Qinfeng stabbed the formation diagram, the black-clothed assassins who had besieged Yi Qinfeng earlier took out extremely powerful self-exploding stones and attacked Yi Qinfeng. Boom, boom, boom. When the self-exploding stones were crushed by the sword tornado around Yi Qinfeng, they immediately released a destructive power. Like thousands of soldiers and horses, they galloped through the entire space, destroying everything. This power was so strong that it caused the entire Aeon City to tremble. Countless pairs of eyes looked out of the city. Swish! Suddenly, an ear-piercing sonic boom was heard. Before the black-clothed assassins could react, they only saw a blur in front of their eyes, and a blurry figure appeared in front of them. Immediately after, an extremely sharp sword light flashed in front of their eyes and cut off their heads. Pillars of blood soared into the sky, dyeing the entire sky red. With a single sword, the black-clothed assassins who had tried to assassinate Yi Qinfeng were all killed instantly. None of them survived. After killing all the black-clothed assassins with a single sword, Yi Qinfeng struck out a palm at the void. The terrifying palm light gathered the power of heaven and earth, and like a resplendent comet, it fiercely bombarded the formation diagram. With a single palm, it shattered the formation diagram that was set up with countless formation cornerstones. Six-star Tao God. He has broken through to the six-star Tao God realm. Feeling the might of Yi Qinfeng's palm strike, the experts of the various major powers who were secretly observing let out cries of surprise. They never thought that Yi Qinfeng would actually break through in just 2 short years. This kind of cultivation speed was something they had never heard of before. Want to run? It's too late. After shattering the terrifying formation diagram with a single palm, Yi Qinfeng cast his gaze into the distance. In a lush forest, he discovered 3 black-clothed assassins who were fleeing in 3 different directions at an extremely fast speed. Undying wings. Yi Qinfeng moved his body, and the undying wings broke out of his body. Sweeping up gusts of wind, he chased after the 3 black-clothed assassins at a speed dozens of times faster than the speed of sound. In less than 3 breaths, there was a shattering sound in the distance. Yi Chunfeng caught up with a powerful god-level assassin and smashed his body with a punch, turning him into a cloud of blood mist in midair. Immediately after, Yi Chunfeng raised his speed to the peak and chased after the other 2 god-level assassins, who were fleeing in 2 different directions. After another 10 breaths of time, another god-level assassin was chased by Yi Chunfeng. Using his palm as a sword, he directly split open the assassin's body and killed him. Chapter 1817. Strong, too strong. Yi Chunfeng's battle prowess has probably surpassed that of an ordinary half-martial ancestor. Through various means, the scene of Yi Chunfeng instantly killing 2 god-ranked assassins had deeply shocked the major forces of Aeon City. Many of them rejoiced that they didn't blindly kill Yi Chunfeng. Otherwise, with Yi Chunfeng's strength, he would definitely bring a devastating disaster to them. "Father, I'm afraid we've underestimated Yi Chunfeng. He dared to expose so many treasures in public. He doesn't put us in his eyes." After learning about the battle outside Aeon City, Sima Chongqing's face turned ugly. With Yi Chunfeng's current battle prowess, he wouldn't have the chance to take revenge in his lifetime. "Sigh, where did this Yi Chunfeng pop out from?" Sima Ju sighed softly and said, "With his strength and foundation, why would he appear in my Aeon City? Could it be, Father, you're saying that Yi Chunfeng came for the ancient god ruins?" Sima Chongqing's face changed slightly. At present, only the ancient god ruins can move Yi Chunfeng." Sima Ju nodded and said, "But no matter how strong he is, he can't enter the ancient god ruins without the key." A woman wearing a snow-white dress, with skin as delicate as milk and a graceful and childish figure, was sitting on an armchair in silence like a lotus. "I know the real reason why Yi Chunfeng exposed so many treasures in the antique trade fair." Sima Ju suddenly slapped the armchair and stood up with an ashen face. "What's the reason?" Sima Chongqing and one of the 4 beauties of Aeon City, Sima Xiao, immediately looked at Sima Ju and asked in a low voice. "This Yi Chunfeng should have long been plotting against our 4 great families and the city lord's key. However, he should have some misgivings about the ancient race, so he needed to find an excuse before snatching it," Sima Ju said with a gloomy face. "But father, the city lord is a peak half-martial ancestor expert. It's impossible for Yi Chunfeng to snatch the key from the city lord," Sima Chongqing said. "Sigh, all these years, my Sima family hasn't experienced too many storms, my insight has really deteriorated too quickly." Sima Ju sighed softly and said, "We should have guessed something from the Li clan's attitude towards Yi Chunfeng? Father, are you saying that the destruction of the demon god palace has something to do with Yi Chunfeng?" The intelligent Sima Zhao's expression changed slightly. "Yes, there is no doubt that the Li family is attached to the demon palace. Before the demon palace was destroyed, there was a rumor that Li Daimeng's son was killed. Coupled with Li Yifeng's attitude towards Yi Chunfeng, all of this was done by Yi Chunfeng." Sima Ju nodded. "But father, is that Yi Chunfeng really as powerful as you said?" Sima Chongqing said in disbelief. "The demon god palace has 2 half-martial ancestor experts. Moreover, the demon god palace has an ancestral array and ancestral vein that has been passed down for who knows how many years. If you want to destroy the demon god palace, you need at least a 3-star ancestor expert. How can someone who can casually take out the black divine stone and ancestral artifact be immortal? That Yi Chunfeng must have an expert protecting him." Sima Ju shook his head and said in a low voice, "In that case, my Sima family can't keep the key of the ancient god ruins?" Sima Chongqing tightly clenched his fist and said unwillingly, "Sigh, if that Yi Chunfeng comes, I will give him the key of the ancient god ruins with both hands." Sima Ju sighed softly, as if he had aged a lot. Not only did Sima Ju see through Yi Chunfeng's true purpose, but the Wei family, Qi family, and Bei family also discovered the crux of the problem. Among them, the Bei family, who had a bad relationship with Yi Chunfeng, was even more flustered. The Bei family's patriarch even ruthlessly taught Bei Xuemei a lesson. If she didn't recklessly provoke Yi Chunfeng, the Bei family might have already latched onto a big tree like the Wei family. Through the Wei family they came into contact with Yi Chunfeng. Just as the Bei family was feeling uneasy, another piece of news exploded in Aeon City. Yi Chunfeng, who had mysteriously disappeared outside Aeon City, appeared outside the Qi family's old residence. "Young Master Yi, why are you here?" Looking at Yi Chunfeng, who was slowly walking over, bathed in the moonlight, the entire Qi family's old residence fell into panic. The Qi family's patriarch, Qi Hanqing's throat rolled, and a trace of trembling appeared in his voice. "Patriarch Qi should be very clear about the purpose of my visit." Looking at the sweat on Qi Hanqing's forehead, who was trying hard to suppress the fear in his heart, Yi Chunfeng said indifferently, "Young Master Yi, do you want the key to the ancient divine ruin?" Qi Hanqing asked fearfully. "Originally, I came to get the key, but unfortunately, I found someone sneaking into the Qi family's old residence, so I had to change my mind," Yi Chunfeng said with a faint smile. Who is it?" "The god-level assassin who tried to assassinate me outside the city." The reason Yi Chunfeng let one of them go was because he wanted to know who was behind the assassin. However, he didn't expect that the assassin wasn't sent by the Sima family, but by the Qi family. "Impossible, how could my Qi family have anything to do with the assassin?" Qi Hanqing defended himself. "Young Master Yi, I was blind and offended you. It's my fault, but you can't frame us because of your personal grudge." Qi Tiangu braced himself and stood up. "Frame us? Are you worthy?" Yi Chunfeng showed a hint of disdain and said, "I know you won't admit it, but it's okay. I'll drag him out of your Qi family's old residence." As he spoke, Yi Chunfeng summoned the demon bird royal flag and let it float above the Qi family's old residence. It shook quickly, forming a large array of runes that covered the entire old residence. In the next moment, the ancestor-level sword soul flew out of Yi Chunfeng's body. Under the horrified gaze of Qi Hanqing and the others, it kept growing. With ancestor-level sword power, it slashed into the depths of the Qi family's old residence. Rumble! The slash was earth-shattering. The Qi family's forbidden land was split open by the ancestor-level sword soul, and a bottomless crack appeared. In the depths of the crack, more than a dozen men in black, who were covered in blood, rushed out and quickly escaped from the old residence. However, the entire Qi family's old residence was sealed by the demon bird royal flag. These severely injured men in black couldn't escape at all and were all trapped. "Patriarch Qi, what else do you have to say now?" Yi Chunfeng pointed to the sky where more than a dozen men in black were covered in wounds and said indifferently. Qi Hanqing tried to open his mouth, but he found that all explanations were futile. Plop! Qi Hanqing, who possessed monstrous power in Aeon City, suddenly knelt on the ground and begged loudly, "Young Master Yi, my Qi family knows our wrongs. Please let us live. I promise that from now on, we will never be your enemy again." "It's too late to regret now. From now on, the Qi family will no longer exist in Aeon City." With that, Yi Chunfeng pointed a finger. The ancestor-level sword soul flew out and instantly pierced through Qi Hanqing's head, crushing his soul and killing him. Then, Yi Chunfeng controlled the ancestor-level sword soul to kill Qi Tiangu and the other Qi family experts, breaking the Qi family's foundation. The Ancient God Ruins Key. After finding the Ancient God Ruins Key among Qi Hanqing's belongings, Yi Chunfeng took away the demon bird royal flag and left the Qi family's residence that reeked of blood. He arrived at the entrance of Aeon City's number 1 family, the Sima family. Chapter 1818. What? Qi Hanqing, Qi Tiangu and the rest of the Qi family's upper echelons were all killed by Yi Chunfeng. Knowing that the Qi family's inheritance was destroyed, Sima Ju's heart trembled. He stood up and his face turned ugly. He didn't expect Yi Qinfeng to be so daring to kill in Aeon City. This was undoubtedly a slap to the ancient family's face. Damn it, this Yi Qinfeng is too lawless. I don't believe that the city lord will spare him. Sima Chongqing said with a gloomy face. Ma, family head, there is someone outside who wants to see you. Just as the Sima family was furious at Yi Qinfeng's lawlessness, a Sima family guard ran in and said in fear. No, I won't see anyone tonight. Sima Ju said with a gloomy face. Family head, he said his name is Yi Qinfeng. The Sima family guard hesitated for a moment and said. What? The guard's words were like thunder that exploded in the Sima family. Although Sima Ju and the rest were furious at Yi Qinfeng's actions, they were still powerless when facing him. Come, follow me to welcome young Master Yi. Sima Ju sighed helplessly in his heart. His expression changed instantly as he brought Sima Chongqing and the rest to the front yard to welcome Yi Qinfeng. Sima family, I'm disturbing you so late at night. You won't resent me, right? Yi Qinfeng had his hands behind his back as he looked at Sima Ju and the rest who were rushing over. He said with a faint smile. No, no. Young Master Ye's presence brings light to our Sima family. Why would we resent you? No matter how much Sima Ju hated Yi Qinfeng, he didn't dare to show it. After all, Yi Qinfeng was a killing god. If he was angered, he might really start a massacre in the Sima family. Family head Sima, you don't really mean it. Yi Qinfeng said with a smile. Young Master Yi, there might be some misunderstanding between us. But don't worry, from today onwards, you will be the most important guest of our Sima family. Whoever dares to offend you will be punished according to the family rules. Looking into Yi Qinfeng's eyes that were as sharp as swords, Sima Ju's throat rolled as he hurriedly promised. All right, I won't beat around the bush with you. I believe that the Sima family head should have guessed the reason for my visit? Yi Qinfeng said indifferently. Young Master Yi is here for the key to the ancient god ruins, right? Sima Ju took a deep breath. That's right. Your Sima clan offended me and wanted to take advantage of me. I wonder if the Sima clan is willing to give me the key to the ancient god ruins to appease my anger? Yi Qinfeng nodded. His calm voice revealed a domineering aura. I've already prepared the key to the ancient divine ruins. Only a dragon among men like you is fit to hold the key to the ancient divine ruins. Hearing the threat in Yi Qinfeng's words, Sima Ju knew that he had no other choice. If he didn't give it to Yi Qinfeng with his ruthless methods, he might really massacre the Sima family. He had no choice but to give the extremely precious key to the ancient god ruins to Yi Qinfeng. All right, it's late. I won't disturb your dreams. Goodbye. After obtaining the third key to the ancient god ruins, Yi Qinfeng didn't stay for long. Sima Ju and the others respectfully sent him off and disappeared into the darkness of the night. Sigh, let's disperse. Looking at Yi Qinfeng's back, Sima Ju sighed helplessly. In the face of absolute strength, all schemes and tricks were just empty words. After leaving the Sima family, Yi Qinfeng immediately went to the Li family. Li Yifeng had already prepared the key to the ancient god ruins and gave it to Yi Qinfeng. Looking at the proud Yi Qinfeng, Li Yifeng bowed and personally poured a cup of spirit tea for him. Young Master Yi, if I'm not wrong, you're only missing the key to the ancient god ruins in the hands of the city lord. That's right. I'm only missing the key to the ancient god ruins in the hands of Gu Jianglu. Yi Qinfeng looked at Li Yifeng, who was far smarter than he had imagined, and nodded. Young Master Yi, you must be careful when you go to the city lord's mansion to get the key. This Gu Jianglu is not simple. It's said that he has a terrifying trump card that no one knows. It's because of this trump card that he dares not touch Aeon City. Li Yifeng revealed an important piece of information to Yi Qinfeng. I know that Gu Jianglu has a trump card, but it's useless against me. Yi Qinfeng took a sip of the fragrant spirit tea and said domineeringly. Yes, Young master, you can destroy the demon palace by yourself. How can a mere Gu Jianglu be your opponent? Li Yifeng hesitated for a moment and said, but Gu Jianglu is after all a member of the ancient family. Moreover, Gu Jianglu's status in the ancient family is not low. I'm afraid that if young Master Yi takes his key, it will anger the ancient family and harm young master. Well, your worry is not without reason. But I'm not afraid. Yi Chunfeng looked at Li Yifeng, who was constantly trying to curry favor with him, and said slowly, Li Yifeng, you're a smart person, and I like to deal with people like you. Well, I'll give you these 2 elixirs. Yi Chunfeng took out 2 heaven-piercing saint elixirs of excellent quality from the universe mirror, and placed them on the table. Li Yifeng, I hope you can restrain the Li family and develop well. Don't follow in Li Daimeng's footsteps. Yi Chunfeng warned Li Yifeng, then got up and left the Li family. He walked into the night and went to the city lord's mansion. Grandpa, as you expected, young Master Yi really went to the city lord's mansion. Wei Xinyue, who was the first to hear the news, found Wei Shitong, who hadn't slept all night, and said worriedly, young Master Yi has obtained 4 of the 5 keys. It's inevitable that he will go to the city lord's mansion. Wei Shitong looked at the dark night outside the window and said slowly, Grandpa, do you think young Master Yi can take the keys from the city lord? Wei Xinyue gently bit her alluring red lips and asked softly, don't forget that young Master Yi can even destroy the demon palace. Gu Jianglu can't threaten him at all. Wei Shitong took a deep breath and said, I just don't know how this farce will end in the end. Grandpa, you're worried about the ancient clan. Wei Xinyue, who was smart, said, That's right. I heard that Gu Jianglu's father is an elder of the ancient clan. It's because of this relationship that he became the city lord of Aeon City. Moreover, the ancient god relic is no small matter. Young Master Yi wants the great opportunity in the ancient god relic. It's no doubt that he's snatching meat from the ancient clan. This is something that the ancient clan will never allow. Wei Shitong nodded and said, In that case, young Master Yi is in a very dangerous situation. Wei Xinyue said with a slightly pale face. It's hard to say. Wei Shitong said, If we can think of the stakes, I think young Master Yi can too. But he must have something to rely on if he insists on taking the keys from Gu Jianglu. All right, let's keep silence and watch the development of the situation. Wei Shitong took a deep breath and said, Just as the attention of all the major forces in Aeon City was focused on Yi Chunfeng, he stepped into the night and arrived outside the city lord's mansion. In the next moment, a powerful sound wave erupted from Yi Chunfeng's mouth. It was like a sudden clap of thunder from the 9 heavens, but it was also like a bolt from the blue. It rang out above the silent city lord's manor, startling the entire city lord's manor. Chapter 1819. Yi Chunfeng, why are you visiting my city lord mansion in the middle of the night? A deep voice rang out from the depths of the city lord mansion. Gu Jianglu, who was dressed in black armor and sitting in the main hall, suddenly opened his eyes and asked despite knowing the answer. City Lord Gu, is this how you treat your guests? Yi Chunfeng saw that Gu Jianglu didn't show himself and was shouting from afar. He revealed a faint smile and replied in a domineering manner. If you are a guest, I will naturally show myself to receive you. However, it's a pity that you are not a guest but an ambitious wolf. I will naturally not show you any courtesy. Gu Jianglu replied. Sigh, I still have to meet you. Since City Lord Gu isn't willing to meet me, I can only go in and meet you. As he spoke, Yi Chunfeng placed his hands behind his back and stepped onto the white jade stairs, walking step by step towards the majestic City Lord's manor. Buzz buzz buzz. When Yi Chunfeng arrived at the City Lord mansion, 3 mysterious ancient array diagrams appeared under the pitch-black moonlight. A powerful array intent descended and enveloped the entire City Lord mansion. In the next moment, the three ancient array diagrams started to spin rapidly and condensed into powerful light swords that shot towards Yi Chunfeng. Space Storm. A large number of array pattern light swords attacked. With a thought, Yi Chunfeng controlled the entire space to form a powerful space storm that messed up the space and shattered the incoming array pattern light sword. Yi Chunfeng, it's not too late for you to stop now. If you dare to step into my city lord mansion, the ancient race will not let you off, Gu Jianglu warned in a serious tone. He didn't expect Yi Chunfeng to have such a deep understanding of space rules that he could actually form a space storm out of thin air. You alone can't represent the ancient race. Yi Chunfeng snorted and said, Moreover, you are after my treasures and sent assassins to assassinate me. Even if the ancient race wants to punish me, I will still be in the right. You are slandering me. Since when did I send assassins to kill you? Gu Jianglu said angrily. Humph, I encountered an assassination attempt in Aeon City. Do you dare to say that this has nothing to do with you? Yi Chunfeng coldly snorted and said, Moreover, do you dare to swear that you didn't try to steal my treasures? Yi Chunfeng, I won't argue with you. As long as you dare to step into the city lord manor, you will be the enemy of the ancient race. No matter what, the ancient race will kill you. Gu Jianglu took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart. I've been waiting for this day. As he spoke, the ancestral sword soul flashed out from Yi Chunfeng's soul sea and transformed into an enormous sword that was over 100 m long and capable of splitting the heavens and the earth apart in midair, and it stirred up formidable Dao insight as it fiercely slashed down onto the city governor's estate that was enveloped by 3 layers of restrictions. Rumble, rumble, rumble. After being attacked by the sword soul of the ancestor, the 3 overlapped and slowly rotating formation diagrams trembled violently. Rays of dazzling Dao light rose into the air, illuminating the pitch-black night sky as bright as day. I'd like to see how many of my sword attacks these 3 formations can withstand. Although the 3 formations above the city governor's estate were extremely powerful, Yi Chunfeng, who had broken through to the 6-star Dao God realm, was no longer the same as before. He stood in midair and constantly controlled the ancestral sword soul to attack. Rays of sword rays that shook the heavens and the earth continuously attacked the 3 formations like a heavenly waterfall, splitting cracks in the 3 formations that complemented each other. The power that came from the 3 formations surged into the city governor's estate and shook the city governor's estate violently as if an earthquake had occurred. Heavens, that Yi Chunfeng really attacked the city governor's estate. Who is he? How dare he openly provoke the ancient race? Yeah, since the establishment of Aeon City, nothing like this has ever happened. I wonder how this farce will end. Yi Chunfeng's attacks became more and more ferocious. The 3 formations that enveloped the city governor's estate were faintly unable to withstand it. Seeing more and more cracks on the formations, Gu Jianglu's face became extremely gloomy. City Governor, when will the ancient race's almighty arrive? Although there was no lack of experts in the city governor's estate, Yi Chunfeng's attack power was too terrifying. It deeply shocked the hearts of the experts in the city governor's estate, causing them to be unable to muster up the courage to deal with Yi Chunfeng. Soon. They should be here by daybreak, Gu Jianglu said in a low voice, holding a 1-foot-long spear with an incomparably sharp tip and a body made of special materials. Then let him be arrogant for a while. When the ancient race's almighty arrives, he'll be crying. Time passed by slowly. After more than half an hour, the 3 formations finally couldn't withstand the attacks of the ancestor-class sword soul and shattered. The instant the 3 great formations shattered, 3 bone spears that were dozens of feet long appeared in the forbidden area of the city lord's manor. They flashed with terrifying lightning as they attacked Yi Chunfeng with the power to pierce through space. Humph, you want to hurt me with such an attack? Looking at the 3 bone spears that had locked onto him, Yi Chunfeng didn't dodge. Instead, he waved his bloody fist to meet them. Boom! 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 3 deafening explosions rang out. Yi Chunfeng threw out 3 punches in an instant. Each punch landed on the 3 lightning bone spears. The power of over 250 billion jin shattered the 3 lightning bone spears as easily as crushing dry weeds, shattering them into smithereens. Gu Jianglu, don't waste any more time. Make your move. Such attacks are useless against me. Yi Chunfeng said domineeringly as he stepped into the air and looked down at Gu Jianglu, who was wearing black armor, after shattering the 3 lightning bone spears with 3 punches. Yi Chunfeng, I really don't know where your courage to challenge the ancient race's authority comes from. Alright, since you insist on fighting with me, I'll grant you your wish. Gu Jianglu's pupils shrank as he looked at Yi Chunfeng, who was exuding a domineering aura. He stepped on the void and walked toward Yi Chunfeng. When their sharp gazes collided with each other, invisible sparks surged out. Gu Jianglu, I hope your strength won't disappoint me. Yi Chunfeng smiled as an unparalleled aura erupted from his body. The space beneath Yi Chunfeng's feet distorted as he took a step forward. He left behind a dazzling afterimage in the air as he suddenly appeared in front of Gu Jianglu and threw a punch at his chest. Yi Chunfeng's punch was extremely fast, but Gu Jianglu's reaction was even faster. He took a small step back and thrust his half-martial ancestor spear forward to block Yi Chunfeng's attack. Ancestor-level sword soul slash. With a thought, Yi Chunfeng's ancestor-level sword soul cut through the pitch-black night sky, unleashing boundless Tao intent as it slashed at Gu Jianglu's head. Although the sword soul had just transformed into an ancestor-level sword soul after fusing with the sword resolve, its power surpassed a half-martial ancestor weapon and possessed true ancestral might. As the sword slashed down, Gu Jianglu only felt an unimaginable sword intent surging into his arms through the half-martial ancestor spear. The impact caused the skin on his arms to split open, and his entire body was sent flying several hundred meters away by the ancestor-level sword soul. If it wasn't for the fact that the black armor he was wearing had neutralized most of the attack, that slash would have been enough to shatter his arms. Is this the power of an ancestor-level sword soul? After experiencing the power of an ancestor-level sword soul, Gu Jianglu revealed a look of intense jealousy. If it wasn't for Yi Chunfeng's interference, the ancestor-level sword resolve would have been his. Slash again. As Gu Jianglu forcefully stabilized his body, the ancestor-level sword soul slashed at him again under the control of Yi Chunfeng's thought. As the sword slashed out, the space began to crack inch by inch. The powerful sword intent caused a vacuum to appear in the space around Gu Jianglu, as if the entire space was about to collapse. Pft. After taking the second slash of the ancestor-level sword soul head-on, Gu Jianglu, who was at the pinnacle of the half-martial ancestor realm, spat out a mouthful of blood and fell from the sky like a kite with a broken string, creating a huge crater on the ground. Chapter 1820. City Lord, witnessing the scene of Gu Jianglu being struck down from midair by the ancestor-level sword soul, the hearts of all the experts in the City Lord mansion tightened. Get out of my way. Don't come near me. Gu Jianglu, who flew out of the pit in a sorry state, ordered loudly. He was afraid that the experts in the City Lord mansion would be affected and suffer more casualties. Gu Jianglu, you are not a bad person. Just because of this sentence, I will spare your life. Yi Chunfeng said coldly as he stood in midair and looked at Gu Jianglu, who was in a sorry state with blood flowing out of the corner of his mouth. Yi Chunfeng, do you really think you have won? Gu Jianglu said with a gloomy face, Today, I will let you see my trump card. As he spoke, Gu Jianglu used his blood as a guide to perform an ancient secret method and condensed a hexagonal blood formation. When he merged with the hexagonal blood formation, the ancestral vein suppressed by the City Lord mansion was activated and merged into his body crazily. In the blink of an eye, Gu Jianglu crossed the half-martial ancestor realm and became a one-star Dao ancestor realm. After crossing the one-star Dao Ancestor realm, Gu Jiangliu's strength continued to rise until he reached the pinnacle of one-star Dao Ancestor realm. During the process of Gu Jiangliu's strength skyrocketing, Yi Chunfeng did not interrupt him. Obviously, he did not take Gu Jiangliu's trump card seriously. Yi Chunfeng, give me your life. Gu Jiangliu, who had merged with a small part of the ancestral vein suppressed by the City Lord Mansion and reached the pinnacle of one-star Dao Ancestor realm, roared and stabbed at Yi Chunfeng with his half-martial ancestor spear. Humph! You think you can defeat me after reaching the pinnacle of one-star Dao Ancestor realm? You are too naive. Yi Chunfeng snorted and burned the primordial blood, instantly increasing his strength to the one-star Dao Ancestor realm. His physical strength also exploded to nearly 400 billion pounds, surpassing that of the god-fiend Torch Dragon. With a punch, the space in front of Yi Chunfeng could not withstand the might of his punch, and shattered. The terrifying fist light continued forward, and smashed into the half-martial ancestor's spear that was thrusting towards him. Crack! 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 A series of cracking sounds could be heard. Under Yi Chunfeng's punch, the Dao force in the half-step ancestor's spear kept shattering. More than 400 billion jin of power poured into the spear, forcibly pressing it into the shape of a full moon. Waves of powerful force passed through the spear and into Gu Jiangliu's arm, causing his skin and flesh to split open. He almost couldn't hold the spear in his hand. What? How can his strength be so terrifying? Gu Jiangliu, whose arms were trembling, opened his eyes wide. He could not believe that Yi Chunfeng's punch was so powerful that it could bend a half-martial ancestor's spear. Third severance. While Gu Jiangliu was still in a state of shock, Yi Chunfeng's ancestral sword spirit slashed down again under the control of his will, forcing Gu Jiangliu to defend himself with his half-step ancestral spear. Although he had fused with a small section of the ancestral vein and possessed the strength of a one-star Dao ancestor for a short period of time, he was still unable to resist the attack of the ancestor-level sword soul as his whole body was trembling. He was chopped down from midair by the ink-black sword light. The City Lord, who has fused with the power of the ancestral vein, is still no match for that lad. Demon! That Yi Chunfeng is definitely a top-notch demon in the Void God realm. I really don't know which overlord force he comes from. Witnessing the scene of Gu Jiangliu being chopped down by the ancestor-level sword soul again, the experts of the City Lord Mansion sank into deep uneasiness. Bloodline ignition, ancient god body. As his injuries worsened, Gu Jiangliu no longer hid his strength. He quickly ignited his powerful bloodline power and performed the top-notch super skills that had been passed down for countless years by the ancient clan. He transformed into the most powerful ancient god body of the ancient clan. His combat power and defense power soared tremendously. Not bad, not bad. This is more interesting. Looking at Gu Jiangliu, whose body was constantly growing bigger and whose skin was like cast steel, Yi Chunfeng was not shocked. Instead, he was delighted. A hint of fighting spirit appeared in his eyes. Demon Sealing Sword. With a thought, the Demon Sealing Sword appeared in Yi Chunfeng's hand. Like a meteor falling to the mortal world, he attacked Gu Jiangliu with sword light that was tens of thousands of feet long. Yi Chunfeng, I will take your life. Gu Jiangliu let out a deep voice. A majestic ancient tree emerged from his body. As the ancient tree swayed rapidly, layers of defensive restrictions appeared in front of him, blocking the attack of the Demon Sealing Sword. Ancient Tree Motionless Spell. Looking at the ancient tree that emerged behind Gu Jiangliu, Yi Chunfeng recognized that this was the top-notch super skill of the ancient clan, Ancient Tree Motionless Spell. However, compared to Gu Hong, who had the Black Dragon Wood, Gu Jiangliu's comprehension of the Ancient Tree Motionless Spell was far from enough. His defense power was several levels weaker than Gu Hong's. Godless Sword. When the Demon Sealing Sword's attack was blocked by the Ancient Tree Motionless Spell, The 4 saint-level Tao diagrams appeared on Yi Qinfeng's body. When he deduced the 4 Tao diagrams to the extreme, they turned into a vast sea of Tao will. As the sword pierced out, the world became dark. The entire space became dark in an instant. Only an invincible divine sword flew through the pitch-black space. The sword pierced through the ancient tree motionless spell's defense and pierced towards Gu Jianglio's body. No, this is impossible. How can his attack power be so strong? Seeing the ancient tree motionless spell being pierced through by Yi Qinfeng's sword, Gu Jianglio's heart was in turmoil. He could not believe that Yi Qinfeng's attack power was so terrifying that it could break through his trump card. Pus! A deep bloody gash appeared on Gu Jianglio's ancient god body. Large amounts of blood spurted out. Although Gu Jianglu dodged the godless sword, the terrifying remaining power of the godless sword still cut through his skin, injuring him. Ancient tree towering, break all laws. Gu Jianglu did not care about the injury on his chest. He continued to deduce the ancient tree motionless spell, controlling the ancient tree that appeared behind him to shake quickly and attack Yi Qinfeng. 3,000 divine transformation fists. As the majestic ancient tree attacked, Yi Qinfeng threw the demon-sealing sword into the air and merged the sea of the path above his head into his fist. In an instant, he unleashed close to 2,000 divine fists. Like an unparalleled meteor shower, they shattered the ancient tree motionless spell and bombarded towards Gu Jianglu, whose expression changed drastically and who was desperately trying to dodge. Boom! 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 Earth-shattering explosions sounded under the pitch-black night sky. Under the attack of Yi Qinfeng's 3,000 divine transformation fists, the entire space was shattered. Although Gu Jianglu dodged the 3,000 divine transformation fists with his strange movement technique, he thought that he was injured by the aftershock. He spat out a large amount of blood and was in great pain. Dragon Transformation Spear. The injuries on his body continued to worsen, but Gu Jianglu did not slow down his attacks. He continuously spat out his life blood into the half-martial ancestor's spear, activating the weapon patterns engraved on the spear. He stabbed towards Yi Qinfeng as one with the spear. As the spear stabbed out, Gu Jianglu, who was one with the spear, turned into a ferocious divine dragon. He swayed his long body and stabbed towards Yi Qinfeng with an indomitable will. Godless sword. Yi Qinfeng's pupils shrunk as he locked onto the dragon transformation spear that was evolving a powerful Tao will. Once again, he deduced the Tao will to the extreme and stabbed forward with the godless sword. When the two powerful attacks collided, with them as the center, the entire space shattered. PFFF, PFFF, PFFF. Facing Yi Qinfeng's soulless sword head-on, Gu Jianglu felt waves after waves of unimaginable sword intent pouring into his body, continuously destroying all the meridians in his body and tearing his body apart. If he had not fused with the power of the ancestral bloodline and transformed into the ancient race's strongest ancient god body, this attack would have been enough to shatter his physical body and kill him. Forcefully enduring the worsening injuries, Gu Jianglu kept controlling the Tao will to evolve the ancient trees to attack Yi Qinfeng. However, after breaking through to the 6-star Tao God realm, Yi Qinfeng's strength had become too terrifying. The ancient trees that swayed their treetops could not hurt Yi Qinfeng at all. Tyrant's Kick. Chapter 1821. Gu Jianglu, do you submit or not? Yi Qinfeng looked down at Gu Jianglu, who had created a huge crater in the ground and was heavily injured, and questioned him loudly. Kill me if you have the guts. Gu Jianglu, who was severely injured, crawled out of the crater. He glared at Yi Qinfeng with his blood-red eyes as he said stubbornly, "Why? Do you think that I won't dare to kill you because of the ancients?" Yi Qinfeng revealed a cold smile and said, "I've even killed the geniuses of the Celestials. Do you think I'll have any qualms about killing you? Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Yi Qinfeng's eyes flashed with murderous intent. His entire body fused with the demon's sealing sword as he stabbed at Gu Jianglu. Stop! When Gu Jianglio's life was hanging by a thread, a furious roar rang out. An ancient flywheel flew over at a speed several times faster than the speed of light, attacking Yi Chenfeng. Humph, you want to hurt me with a mere low-grade ancestral weapon? Yi Chenfeng snorted coldly. The life and death plate broke out of his body, crushing the void and colliding with the incoming flywheel, forcefully blocking its attack. He appeared in front of Gu Jianglu without slowing down and stomped on his severely injured chest, crushing his sternum. He said, "Give me the key to the ancient divine ruin or die." Looking into Yi Chenfeng's cold eyes, Gu Jianglio's heart trembled for some reason. He had no doubt that if he refused, Yi Chenfeng would definitely kill him. "Fine, I'll give you the key to the ancient divine ruin," Gu Jianglu said through gritted teeth. He took out a cosmos ring, and just as he was about to hand it to Yi Chenfeng, a hint of viciousness appeared in his eyes. He suddenly crushed the ring. In the next moment, a powerful soul force gushed out from the ring and rushed into Yi Chenfeng's sea of soul, attacking Yi Chenfeng's soul. The instant the universe ring shattered, he exploded his physical body at all costs. He used the ancient tribe's life-saving trump card and turned into a bloody mist, escaping in the direction of the ancient tribe's almighty who had arrived in time. "Humph, do you think you can escape?" Yi Chenfeng snorted coldly as he ignored the countless strands of soul power attacks. He stretched out his hand and evolved a powerful will of the way. It transformed into a giant hand that enveloped the space of several miles and grabbed at Gu Jianglu. At the critical moment, the flywheel that had just been knocked away by the life and death plate flew over again, instantly splitting into hundreds of wheel shadows and attacking the giant hand that Yi Chenfeng had conjured, saving Gu Jianglu, whose life was hanging by a thread. "Jianglu, how are you?" A dark-skinned, two-star Dao ancestor wearing a dark gray robe appeared beside Gu Jianglu and asked with concern as he watched Gu Jianglu cast the ancient race's secret technique to reconstruct his body. He had a long beard and was a two-star Dao ancestor. "Sixth Elder, is my father here?" Gu Jianglu, who was seriously injured and extremely weak, looked at Yi Chenfeng in the distance with hatred and asked in a low voice. "The third elder is in seclusion and has not come. The clan leader sent me, the ninth elder, and 3 protectors to support you." The sixth elder of the ancient family quickly stuffed a sacred healing pill into Gu Jianglio's mouth and stabilized his injuries. As he spoke, another 4 powerful auras appeared beside Gu Jianglu and locked onto Yi Chenfeng, who was not far away. 2 two-star Dao ancestors and 3 one-star Dao ancestors. Looking at the 5 progenitor experts sent by the ancient tribe, Yi Chenfeng did not show a trace of panic. However, the experts of the City Lord Mansion who had survived the disaster were in ecstasy. "Great! Now that the ancient tribe's almighty has arrived, Yi Chenfeng is dead meat. Yeah, let's see how arrogant he can be. Now even God can't save him." While the experts of the City Lord Mansion were in ecstasy, the Wei clan and Li clan fell into silence. "Sigh, young Master Yi has made a big mess this time." The ancient tribe sent 5 progenitor experts at once. "I'm afraid young Master Yi is powerless to reverse the situation. Yeah, the ancient god ruins is a taboo of the ancient tribe. How can they allow outsiders to touch it? However, with young Master Ye's ability, the 5 progenitor experts of the ancient tribe may not be able to capture him. I hope the ancient tribe won't blame us because of young Master Yi. Otherwise, my Wei clan will have to leave Aeon City." Wei Shirtong shook his head and said with a sigh, "Boy, if you still want to have an intact corpse, you'd better cripple your own cultivation. Otherwise, I will let you have a taste of the ancient tribe's torture methods." The 6th elder looked at Yi Chenfeng with a gloomy face and ordered sternly, "Haha, with just you?" Yi Chenfeng laughed and said, "Although I don't want to be enemies with the ancient tribe, if you don't know what's good for you, I don't mind killing all of you." Although facing 5 progenitor experts, Yi Chunfeng did not show a trace of fear. Instead, he laughed and said arrogantly, "Sixth Elder, don't talk nonsense with him. After we capture him, I'd like to see if he's still so stubborn." Gu Jianglu looked at Yi Chunfeng viciously and said with a murderous intent, "Okay, leave it to me." The 6th elder of the ancient tribe, who was the strongest and had cultivated to the 2-star Tao ancestor realm, took a step forward and appeared in front of Yi Chunfeng in an instant. He stretched out his skinny right hand and grabbed Yi Chunfeng's chest. Seeing that the 6th elder's right hand was about to grab Yi Chunfeng's chest at an extremely fast speed, a faint light flashed in front of him and a vague figure appeared. The next moment, a force beyond his imagination locked onto him, making him feel as if his body was pressed down by a towering mountain and unable to move. Slap! A crisp sound of a slap was heard. The 6th elder of the ancient tribe, who had been insufferably arrogant a moment ago, was sent flying by a slap. Half of his old face was completely caved in, and a large amount of blood and broken teeth spurted out of his mouth. "You, who are you?" Gu Jianglu and the others were stunned when they saw the tall figure that suddenly appeared in front of Yi Chunfeng and sent the 6th elder of the ancient tribe flying with a slap. "I'll kill you!" As the 6th elder of the ancient tribe, he had never been humiliated like this. He roared angrily and burned all the blood in his body to transform into the body of an ancient god. Like an enraged lion, he attacked Long Xiaotian, who was standing in front of Yi Chunfeng. Slap! Another crisp sound of a slap was heard. Long Xiaotian's casual slap shattered Elder Gu Lu's attack and landed on his old face again. He was sent flying from the air to the ground, creating a huge crater in the ground. Who was Elder Gu Lu? He was a famous expert of the ancient tribe, and he was one step away from becoming a 3-star Tao ancestor. But now, such an expert was being slapped again and again. This shocking scene made Gu Jianglu and the others feel as if they were in a dream. It felt unreal. "Now, do you still think that you can control my life and death?" Yi Chunfeng looked at Gu Jianglu and the others, who were dumbfounded and whose eyes were twitching violently, and said with a faint smile, "Young Master Yi, there's no need to talk nonsense with them. Let me kill them." Long Xiaotian was also a lawless person. He looked at Gu Jianglu and the others in the distance and said coldly, Wait, Yi Chunfeng, if I'm willing to give you the key to the ancient divine ruin, will you let us go?" Gu Jianglu did not expect Yi Chunfeng to be protected by such an expert. His inner defenses collapsed, and he lowered his noble head and said in submission, "Sure." Yi Chunfeng's main enemies were the divine tribe and the demon tribe, and he did not want to have a bad relationship with the ancient tribe. He nodded and warned, "But I advise you not to play any tricks on me. Otherwise, I can guarantee that you will die miserably." Sigh. Gu Jianglu sighed helplessly. In the face of absolute power, he did not dare to scheme against Yi Chunfeng. He obediently handed the last key to the ancient divine ruin to Yi Chunfeng. "Let's go to the ancient divine ruin." Chapter 1822. Break. Yi Chunfeng roared as his ancestral sword spirit flew out like a roaring black dragon. It broke through the restriction hidden in the depths of Aeon City's mountains and flew along a spacious underground passage into the dark underground space. After diving for an unknown distance, Yi Chunfeng suddenly saw traces of light in front of him. His body flashed as he flew out with an ear-piercing sound. Space door. After flying out of the underground passageway, Yi Chunfeng noticed that a spatial door that was over 100 meters tall had appeared before him. It flowed with the light of Tao insight, and it emitted a powerful pressure. Moreover, there were 5 keyholes at the bottom of the spatial door. What a powerful restriction aura! Old Man Wei didn't lie to me. Judging from the power of this restriction, a peak ancestral stage expert can't break it by force. Yi Chunfeng controlled the God-Eater brain to feel the restriction of the space door. He felt that this restriction was incomparably powerful. It was something he had never seen before in his life. He couldn't break it with brute force. Open! Yi Chunfeng took out 5 space keys and inserted them into the keyholes. He gently turned the keyholes. Ka. Suddenly, endless restriction light flowed on the surface of the several hundred feet tall space door. Slowly, the space door opened and an ancient aura spread out from the space door. Whoosh! Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath. With a flash of his body, he entered the space gate while facing the ancient aura. This is the ancient god ruins? Standing in the space door and looking around, Yi Chunfeng found that this place was no different from the outside world. It was a vast and boundless plain and a green lake. In the depths of the plain, he could faintly see endless mountains. There was no trace of the ruins at all. However, when Yi Chunfeng flew to the vast grassland, he felt that something was wrong. He found that the space of the ancient god ruins was filled with a mysterious power that kept interfering with his soul, causing the scene in front of him to be distorted. It was very difficult for him to distinguish the direction. Senior Shin Dao Su, I've already entered the ancient god ruins, but this space is a bit strange, I can't tell the direction. Can you find a way to go deeper into this place? Thinking that Shin Daoshu wanted to take the corpse of the God Clan's almighty being for the ancient god ruins, Yi Chunfeng did not control the God-Eater brain to deduce. Instead, he sent a voice transmission to Shin Daoshu for help. Leave it to me. Shin Daoshu stopped healing and left the universe realm under the control of Yi Chunfeng's mind. He appeared in the ancient god ruins where space was in disorder. This aura, this place is indeed connected to my god race. Appearing in the ancient god ruin, Shin Daoshu stepped on the black soil of the ancient god ruin. He closed his eyes and sensed silently. An indescribable feeling appeared in his heart. Divine blood guides the way. With a thought, Divine Tao Void summoned a drop of god blood the size of a water droplet. This drop of god blood was obtained from refining the corpse of a god race almighty. Go! The godly blood drew a bloody shadow in the air, piercing through the layers of chaotic space at an extremely fast speed, flying into the distance at an extremely fast speed. Yi Chunfeng and Shin Daoshu did not hesitate. They immediately followed this drop of god blood and entered the depths of the ancient god ruins. The deeper they went into the ancient god ruins, the stronger Yi Chunfeng felt the chaotic power in the space become. Slowly, the god blood that was flying at high speed disappeared. Shin Daoshu took out another drop of god blood and used the same method to use the god blood to guide the way, guiding them into the ancient god ruins. Very quickly, 3 days had passed. In these 3 days, Yi Chunfeng and Shin Daoshu did not find anything, but they had used up more than 100 drops of god blood. Fortunately, Shin Daoshu had refined more than 10,000 drops of god blood from the god clan's ancient corpse. He was not afraid of using up. So fragrant. Yi Chunfeng and Shin Daoshu followed the drop of god blood. As they continued to fly, they suddenly smelled a refreshing fragrance drifting over from afar and into their noses. Come, let's go take a look. Shin Daoshu's turbid eyes shot out rays of light. Through the layers of chaotic space, he found a stalk of divine medicine in the depths of the ancient god ruins. He quickly flew over with Yi Chunfeng. What kind of flower is this? In the center of a pool, Yi Chunfeng and Shin Daoshu saw a stalk of strange flower that was over half a meter tall. It was completely black and covered in sharp barbs. It was the size of a wash basin, and the center of the flower transformed into various forms. Staring at this strange flower, Yi Chunfeng suddenly felt a familiar voice come from the strange flower. It was calling out to him, asking him to go over. But very quickly, Yi Chunfeng, who had the God-Eater brain, dispelled the illusion. He returned to normal and his eyes were clear. This is not a flower, but a spirit flower transformed from a soul that has lived for who knows how many years. If one is caught off guard, it is extremely likely that their soul will be devoured by it. Shin Daoshu, who stood at the peak of the world, was extremely experienced. He saw through the essence of this flower with a single glance and slowly said, I'll go collect it. Although this flower could make Yi Chenfeng lose his senses for a short period of time, which was enough to show how terrifying it was, Yi Chenfeng, who had the God-Eater brain, was not afraid. His body flashed slightly, passed through the chaotic space, and appeared beside this spirit flower. When Yi Chenfeng's finger touched this spirit flower, a terrifying soul energy gushed out and surged into Yi Chenfeng's sea of soul. It wanted to devour his soul. Humph, you're courting death. Yi Chenfeng's eyes narrowed. The God-Eater brain quickly squirmed and formed a powerful devouring force. It instantly devoured the soul energy that surged into his sea of soul. In the next moment, a terrifying devouring black hole appeared in Yi Chenfeng's palm and imprinted on this beautiful spirit flower. Screech! A series of horrified ghostly cries rang out. Sensing the danger from the God-Eater brain, the soul that had transformed into the spirit flower returned to its original form. It turned into a black light and fled into the distance. Trying to escape? It's too late. Yi Chenfeng pressed down with his hand. A terrifying Dao intent turned into a huge hand that covered the sky. It pressed down with hundreds of billions of kilograms of force. The palm pressed down on the fleeing soul and caught it in the hand. This soul had existed for God knows how long and was already very powerful. However, after Yi Chenfeng broke through to the six-star Dao God realm, he became even more terrifying. No matter how the soul struggled, it could not tear apart the Dao intent hand. Devour! Just as the soul was struggling desperately, the God-Eater brain appeared in Yi Chenfeng's palm under his control. It released a powerful devouring force and directly devoured the soul. Let's go, Senior. After using the God-Eater brain to easily deal with the soul, Yi Chenfeng returned to Shin Daoshu's side. He followed the god's blood that was emitting a faint bloody light and continued to fly into the primordial god ruins. As they went deeper, Yi Chenfeng and Shin Daoshu encountered many spiritual creatures that were transformed by the soul. However, none of them could escape the God-Eater brain's devouring and became its nourishment. After an unknown amount of time, Yi Chenfeng's powerful soul energy suddenly felt a powerful suppressive force in front of him. It was suppressing a part of the space and causing it to distort. Let's go and take a look. Chapter 1823. Steel, a suppressing steel. When Yi Chenfeng duo barged into the suppressing space that was constantly distorting, they discovered a several hundred feet tall ancient steel with golden cloud patterns engraved on the surface, suppressing a black coffin. The suppressing power that filled the space was precisely diffusing out from this ancient steel. Senior, can you sense what this ancient steel is suppressing? Yi Chenfeng stared at the ancient steel that sank into the black clouds. He felt that this ancient steel was very powerful, containing power sufficient to suppress progenitor realm powerhouses to death. I can't sense it. Shin Daoshu shook his head and said, but according to my observation, this suppressing ancient steel should have been left behind by my divine race's powerhouse. What on earth is the divine race suppressing the soul suppressing steel left behind? Yi Chenfeng vaguely felt that the existence of the ancient god ruins was suspected to be related to the thing suppressed by the ancient steel. We'll know after breaking this ancient steel. As he spoke, Shin Daoshu spat out a mouthful of lifeblood essence, fusing into the several hundred feet tall black ancient steel. Immediately, the entire ancient steel seemed to be burning. Large amounts of golden cloud patterns fluctuated violently, falling off unceasingly. Open! Shin Daoshu shouted loudly. Several large groups of Dao diagrams gushed out of his body, transforming into an incomparably enormous hand that blotted out the sky. It grabbed the ancient steel, erupting with astonishing power, pulling up the ancient steel bit by bit. The ancient steel was pulled up out of thin air by Shin Daoshu. A powerful evil aura pervaded out of the black coffin, dyeing the entire space black. What an evil aura! What on earth is suppressing inside this black coffin? Feeling the evil power gushing out of the coffin, Yi Chunfeng only felt all the hairs on his body stand on end, his face revealing a grave expression. I know what my divine race's ancestor used the ancient steel to suppress, Shin Daoshu said in a low voice. What is it? Yi Chunfeng hurriedly asked. It's the evil race that should have long disappeared from the void god world, Shin Daoshu said. Evil race? What race is this? Yi Chunfeng's understanding of the void god world was limited and had never heard of the evil race's great name. The evil race has existed for too long, and the evil race was the mastermind behind the internal strife of the primordial era. They attempted to annex the various races of the void god realm, and had an unprecedented battle with our god race at the peak of the universe. That battle lasted for countless years, and affected the entire void god realm. Quite a few clans were implicated, and many more were exterminated. In the end, my god clan joined forces with the celestial clan, human clan, and demon clan to annihilate the evil clan and sever the evil clan's inheritance and foundation. However, my god clan also suffered heavy losses. Many of our ancestor realm experts passed away in meditation. This also directly led to my god clan being taken advantage of by the celestial clan and annihilated our foundation. Shin Daoshu sank into deep memories as he slowly spoke. This evil race is so powerful, Yi Chunfeng said with slight surprise. Amen. The evil race is known to possess an undying body. It is extremely difficult to kill them. Moreover, the evil race's clan leader back then was a powerful void god. He was practically invincible in the entire void god realm. Shin Daoshu nodded and said. As Yi Chunfeng spoke, the black coffin shattered. An old man enveloped in black light, revealing only a skinny face, appeared before Yi Chunfeng and Yi Chunfeng. Peak evil ancestor. Feeling the aura of the skinny old man, Shin Daoshu immediately sensed his strength. He was a peak evil ancestor who was not much weaker than him. God clan, you are from the God clan. Peak evil ancestor's turbid eyes shot out two rays of light that seemed to materialize. He stared at Shin Daoshu and said coldly, Not bad, not bad. God really treats me well. He gave me a powerful God clan expert as soon as I got out of trouble. After drinking your blood, I might be able to recover my peak strength. Peak evil ancestor said with murderous intent. Chingfeng, step back. Although Shin Daoshu was a peak god ancestor, he still showed a trace of seriousness in the face of the evil ancestor who had an undying body. God ancestor bastard, give me your life and blood! Peak evil ancestor roared and attacked Shin Daoshu with boundless evil power. Ancient tablet, suppress. Peak evil ancestor attacked, and Shin Daoshu immediately controlled the giant hand to throw down the ancient tablet, which fell down like a pillar supporting the sky. The moment the ancient tablet fell, the four ancestral Tao diagrams that appeared in Shin Daoshu's body turned into a Tao will prison, which directly trapped Peak Evil Ancestor and prevented him from escaping. Rumble! Peak Evil Ancestor was attacked by the ancient tablet, and his body, which was shrouded in black light, immediately exploded. The entire ground was smashed by the ancient tablet, creating a bottomless pit. But the next moment, a large amount of black light spread on the surface of the ancient tablet where the golden words disappeared, and quickly condensed into a skinny old man. This is an undying body. Looking at Peak Evil Ancestor who was smashed by the ancient tablet and recovered quickly, Yi Chunfeng, who was hiding in the distance, was deeply shocked. He was shocked by the horror of the undying body of the evil ancestor. God clan bastard, you can't kill me! Peak Evil Ancestor revealed a ferocious expression, and with boundless evil chi, he attacked Shin Daoshu and fought fiercely with him in the ancient god ruins. Shin Daoshu wielded the supreme grade ancestral artifact Divine Void Sword, and his attack power was extremely terrifying. With a slash of his sword, he broke the space, but peak evil ancestor who had an undying body was not afraid at all. His body was slashed by divine void sword again and again, and he used the undying body to recover time and time again. This gave Shen Daoshu a headache, and he ignored the injuries on his body and attacked with all his strength. Tao of Artifact Control, Death God Scythe. Just as Shen Daoshu and Peak Evil Ancestor were fighting fiercely, Yi Chunfeng suddenly approached and used the Tao of Artifact Control to throw out the Death God Scythe. Buzz. The ancestral runes on the Death God Scythe were completely activated by the Tao of Artifact Control, and a terrifying power of death spread out from the Death God Scythe. With a slash, the entire space was cut into two halves, and the terrifying blade intent slashed on Peak Evil Ancestor's old body, directly shattering his body. But soon, Peak Evil Ancestor, who had an undying body, reconstructed his body. However, his body was slashed by the Supreme Grade Ancestral Artifact again and again, and his attack power was also greatly reduced. I want to see how many times you can reconstruct your undying body. Although Peak Evil Ancestor's undying divine ability was abnormal, Shen Daoshu knew that there was a limit to it. It was impossible for him to reconstruct his body without limit, and he ignored the injuries on his body and continued to attack. I wonder if the primal chaos divine wood can devour him? Looking at Peak Evil Ancestor, who was completely suppressed by Shen Daoshu, a thought appeared in Yi Chunfeng's mind, and he summoned the primal chaos divine wood. At this time, Shen Daoshu wielded the divine void sword and used the god race's inheritance ability again, and slashed Peak Evil Ancestor's body. Primal chaos divine wood, devour! Just as Peak Evil Ancestor was reconstructing his body, Yi Chunfeng controlled the primal chaos divine wood to appear on Peak Evil Ancestor's broken body, extending tens of thousands of five-colored roots that took root in his broken body. In the next moment, primal chaos divine wood released a powerful devouring power under Yi Chunfeng's control, frenziedly devouring Peak Evil Ancestor's body. No, primal chaos divine wood. How can you have primal chaos divine wood? Peak Evil Ancestor let out a roar of despair after being devoured by the primal chaos divine wood, and he desperately tried to escape. But his body was destroyed by Shen Daoshu again and again, and he was greatly exhausted, so he couldn't break free from the primal chaos divine wood's devouring. Chapter 1824. The Chaos Divine Wood is indeed the number one divine wood in the universe. It can even devour a peak evil progenitor. Shen Daoshu couldn't help but envy Yi Chunfeng as he watched the Chaos Divine Wood devour the peak evil progenitor and his old injuries flare up. Fruits. When the Chaos Divine Wood refined the peak evil progenitor, it gave birth to 3 peach-shaped, multicolored fruit. Chaos Divine Fruit. Looking at the fruit born from the primal Chaos Divine Wood, Shen Daoshu's calm face couldn't help but reveal a trace of pleasant surprise. As the number one divine wood in the universe, the fruits it gave birth to were no ordinary items. Chingfeng, can you give me a Chaos Divine Fruit? Shen Daoshu looked at the 3 fruits with burning eyes. Of course. Shen Daoshu was Yi Chunfeng's greatest reliance, so he generously plucked a Chaos Divine Fruit and gave it to Shen Daoshu. Many thanks. Shen Daoshu couldn't help but be excited after obtaining the legendary Chaos Divine Wood. After killing the peak evil progenitor, Yi Chunfeng immediately used the God-Eater Brain to sense the area of suppression. He found that there were no opportunities here, but Yi Chunfeng wasn't disheartened. The Chaos Divine Wood devoured 3 Chaos Divine Fruits from the peak evil progenitor. Their value definitely exceeded that of an ordinary great opportunity. Let's go, Senior. Let's continue deeper and see if we can find any more suppressed evil race bigwigs. Alright. Shen Daoshu carefully put away the Chaos Divine Fruit and summoned a drop of divine blood. He used a secret art of the divine race and had the divine blood guide him deeper into the primordial god ruin. Days passed. Yi Chunfeng stayed in the primordial god ruin for more than 3 months. In these 3 months, they found 3 more suppression monuments. Using the same trick, the Chaos Divine Wood devoured the evil race bigwigs suppressed by the monuments and gave birth to 7 Chaos Divine fruit. In addition to the earlier ones, Yi Chunfeng had 9 Chaos Divine fruit. The sound of flowing water. Is there a river up ahead? Yi Chunfeng and Xin Daoxiu followed the divine blood. When they were traveling through the chaotic space at extreme speed, they suddenly heard the sound of flowing water in front of them. Following the sound of the water, the two of them flew for dozens of miles. Through the slowly drifting black fog, they saw a vast and boundless river with flowing black water, cutting off the ancient god relic and blocking their path. What a powerful death chi! There is actually a river of death in the primordial god ruins. Looking at the vast river of death, Yi Chunfeng controlled the god-eater brain to quickly deduce how wide this river of death was. This river of death is so wide? Yi Chunfeng controlled the god-eater brain to sense for several breaths of time. To his surprise, he discovered that the incomparably powerful god-eater brain could not extend to the other side of the river of death. Next, he summoned an inferior-grade Empyrean Saint artifact and threw it with 200 billion kilograms of force. Bang! With an ear-piercing sound, when the inferior-grade Empyrean Saint artifact reached the center of the river of death, a pillar of water that resembled a black dragon burst out of the river and viciously slammed into the inferior-grade Empyrean Saint artifact. The terrifying force directly shattered the Empyrean Saint artifact. What power! Yi Chunfeng's eyes narrowed. He had never thought that a pillar of water from the river of death would actually be able to shatter an inferior-grade Empyrean Saint artifact. This river of death is not simple. It should be formed from the supreme quality ancestral artifact of the evil race in the past. Xin Daoxiu secretly observed the slowly flowing river of death and became stern. He slowly said, "If we want to forcefully cross the river, it will be extremely difficult. Senior, we both have supreme quality ancestral artifacts and the chaotic divine wood. Can't we suppress this river of death?" Yi Chunfeng asked softly. "It'll be difficult." Xin Daoxiu shook his head and said, "The evil thousand stream is the highest level supreme quality ancestral artifact in the void god realm. Its power is extremely terrifying. In the past, many ancestral experts of my god race were killed by it. And just now, I felt that there is a very terrifying existence in the river of death. It should be the artifact spirit of the evil thousand stream. If we want to suppress the evil thousand stream and reach the other shore, we must first severely wound the artifact spirit. Only then will we have a chance." Yi Chunfeng pondered for a moment and said, "I'll have the primitive Tao embryo lure out the artifact spirit of the evil thousand stream. We'll work together and see if we can injure it." "Okay." Xin Daoxiu nodded. He consumed a supreme quality Empyrean Saint pill and stabilized his injuries. He held the divine void sword in his hand and waited in silence. "Primitive Tao embryo, go." Yi Chunfeng's thoughts moved. The primitive Tao embryo flew out and appeared above the river of death, wanting to forcefully cross the river. Boom, boom, boom. Sensing the primitive Tao embryo's aura, the slowly flowing river of death instantly became restless. Pillars of water as thick as buckets shot into the sky like violent dragons and attacked the primitive Tao embryo. Suddenly facing the water pillars, the primitive Tao embryo held the life and death plate and attacked with full force, shattering the water pillars. Life and death plate, judge life and death. Relying on its absolute strength to shatter the water pillars, the primitive Tao embryo activated the power of the life and death plate, causing it to become bigger and bigger. It released a powerful force of life and death that crushed the water of death and attacked the artifact spirit hiding in the river of death. Roar! A roar that did not sound like that of a human could be heard. The artifact spirit hiding in the depths of the river of death was enraged. It controlled the river of death to surge and transform into various forms of attacks that ferociously attacked the life and death plate. Slash. At this time, Shun Daoshu locked onto the artifact's spirit and controlled the 4 ancestral Dao diagrams to fuse into the divine void sword, activating all the ancestral runes in the sword and unleashing an unstoppable slash. Like a dazzling silver river, it cut open the river of death and slashed towards the artifact's spirit. At this time, Yi Chunfeng also used the Dao of weapon control and activated the scythe's strongest attack, breaking into the river of death. Facing the attacks of Shin Daoshu and Yi Chunfeng at the same time, the artifact's spirit immediately sensed the danger. It controlled the heavy water of the river of death to form layers of barriers while using strange abilities to dodge the attacks of the 2 supreme-grade ancestral weapons. Boom boom! The 2 supreme-grade ancestral weapons slashed down, causing the entire river of death to tremble violently. A bottomless chasm was created in the wide river by the 2 supreme-grade ancestral weapons. However, the artifact's spirit's dodging speed was too fast. It managed to dodge the attacks in time, causing the attacks to be ineffective. Where do you think you're going? Shin Daoshu's pupils constricted. He pierced through the violently churning river of death and locked onto the artifact's spirit that was rapidly dodging. With a flash, he broke into the river of death and interweaved with terrifying sword rays to pursue it with all his might. Chaos Divine Wood Attack. It was also at this moment that Yi Chunfeng summoned the Chaos Divine Wood. He controlled the Chaos Divine Wood to continuously expand, extending tens of thousands of 5-colored roots into the violently churning river of death, restricting the speed of the evil Shura Thousand Streams artifact spirit. However, in the river of death, the artifact spirit's speed was too fast. Coupled with the fact that the water of death was extremely corrosive to the physical body, the heavily injured Shin Daoshu chased for more than an hour with all his strength but was unable to severely injure the artifact's spirit that was rapidly dodging. The 5-colored roots of the Chaos Divine Wood were even more unable to trap it. As time passed, Shin Daoshu's defense was continuously penetrated by the water of death and his injuries gradually worsened. Chapter 1825. Senior, are you alright? Yi Chunfeng saw that Shin Daoshu was injured in the river of death and was shocked. He immediately came to his side and asked with concern. I'm fine. Shin Daoshu spat out a mouthful of turbid air and said, This river of death is more dangerous than I imagined. In this river of death, it is equivalent to continuously being attacked by the evil Slaughter Thousand Streams. If I were at my peak strength, I would be able to withstand it, but now I can't withstand it for long. Senior, why don't I try using the universe mirror and see if I can use it to cross the river without anyone knowing? After opening the 5th level of the universe mirror, Yi Chunfeng could already control the spatial movement of the universe mirror. He was prepared to hide in the universe mirror and sneak over. Alright, you can try. Shin Daoshu nodded and returned to the universe mirror with Yi Chunfeng. He borrowed the power of the heaven-piercing Saint Pill to suppress his old injuries. Universe mirror, spatial travel. After Shin Daoshu recovered from his injuries, Yi Chunfeng immediately mobilized a huge amount of universe force and controlled the universe mirror to travel through space. Whoosh! An ear-piercing sound rang out. The universe mirror was like a cold star as it streaked across the sky and flew above the slowly flowing river of death. It flew above the river of death at an extremely fast speed. Boom boom boom. As the universe mirror flew rapidly, pillars of water appeared on the river of death. They were like roaring water dragons as they continuously attacked the universe mirror. The universe mirror trembled violently, and its flying speed was greatly affected. What a terrifying power! After opening the 5th level of the universe mirror, the universe mirror's defense had greatly increased. Ordinary ancestral artifacts could not break its defense. However, under the continuous attacks of the pillars of water, Yi Chunfeng felt fine cracks appear on the universe mirror's defense. Just as his will burned the power of the universe to increase the speed of the universe mirror, a stream of light shot out from the river of death. It was like a resplendent Milky Way that fiercely bombarded the universe mirror, destroying the universe mirror's defense as easily as crushing dry weeds. Not good, the universe mirror's defense is broken. We have to go back. Feeling the universe mirror's defense break, Yi Qinfeng's expression changed slightly. He did not dare to forcefully break through and immediately controlled the universe mirror to fly to the shore. Ka. At this moment, the universe mirror's defense that was continuously attacked by the endless streams of light was becoming more and more damaged. Helpless, Shen Daoshu left the universe mirror and appeared in the air above the river of death. He held the divine void sword and slashed through the void, shattering the attacks of the river of death. Big brother, what kind of power is attacking us? The commotion in the universe mirror alarmed Emor, who was lying among the flowers and eating top-grade saint crystals. Like an otherworldly fairy, she appeared beside Yi Qinfeng and asked softly, "We've been attacked by the river of death created by a supreme-grade ancestral artifact," Yi Qinfeng said as he burned his universe power to increase the speed of the universe mirror. "Is it the evil slaughter thousand flows?" Emor blinked her large eyes and pondered for a moment before asking, "Emor, you know about the evil slaughter thousand streams?" Yi Qinfeng raised his eyebrows, revealing a surprised expression. I just sensed the power attacking us and the evil slaughter thousand flows appeared in my mind." Emor nodded and said, "Emor, did you come from the ancient god ruins?" Looking at the mysterious Emor, Yi Qinfeng confirmed his earlier guess. I can't remember." Emor tried hard to recall but found that her mind was blank and she could not remember anything. "Then, Emor, do you have a way for us to smoothly cross this river of death?" Yi Qinfeng looked at Emor, who showed a trace of pain, and continued to ask. I can try." Emor took a deep breath and said, "Big brother, take me out." "Take you out?" Yi Qinfeng hesitated. "Emor, it's very dangerous outside. With my strength, I'm afraid I can't guarantee your safety." "Don't worry, big brother, the evil slaughter thousand flows can't hurt me." Emor's pink little face showed a confident smile. "Alright." Yi Qinfeng nodded. Holding the death scythe, he left the universe realm with the mysterious Emor and appeared in the sky above the river of death, which was full of cracks and chaos. "Be careful." The moment Yi Qinfeng appeared with Emor, an extremely fast stream of light attacked Yi Qinfeng and Emor, trying to destroy them. Before Yi Qinfeng could defend with all his strength with the death scythe, Emor suddenly stretched out her finger and gently tapped the void. A strange power shot out from her fingertip and touched the stream of light, directly shattering it. This, Yi Qinfeng's eyes widened and he was stunned by the scene before him. The stream of light that kept shattering the universe realm's defense could not stop Emor's finger. This scene completely overturned Yi Qinfeng's understanding. "I don't want to hurt you. I just want to cross the river. Quickly stop attacking." After shattering the stream of light with one finger, Emor seemed to have remembered something and her clear voice revealed a commanding tone. However, the evil slaughter thousand flows artifact's spirit was unmoved. It mobilized the river of death to quickly spin and form a roaring black dragon. It opened its bloody mouth and bit at Emor. "Humph!" Emor snorted softly and pointed her finger again. With this point, Yi Qinfeng's powerful soul force could clearly sense the power of the ancient god ruin crazily surging over and gathering in the light of her finger. In the blink of an eye, a finger-sized ray of light expanded rapidly, shattering the space. With one finger, it shattered the black dragon formed by the water of death and entered the surging river of death. So strong! Not only was Yi Qinfeng shocked by Emor's strength, but Shen Dao's heart was also in turmoil. He had a feeling that Emor's finger just now had fused with the power of the ancient god Ruin. Its power probably surpassed that of the supreme grade ancestral artifact, the divine void sword. Rumble! The evil slaughter thousand flows artifact spirit was completely enraged after its attacks were broken. It mobilized the boundless river of death and turned it into layers of flowing light. It was like a river of stars flowing in reverse, attacking Yi Chunfeng and the others, wanting to shatter them. Break! Facing the flowing light attack that was like the end of the world, Mo still did not show any fear. She softly spat out a word and threw a punch at the incoming flowing light. With this punch, the power of the ancient god Ruin was mobilized by her again. Like a majestic mountain, it ruthlessly smashed into the flowing light. Boom! The boundless light collided with Mo's fist radiance and shattered like glass. With a single punch, Mo's mountainous fist continued forward, smashing into the surging river of death. It directly blasted a bottomless hole in the river of death, and the terrifying aftershocks sent the artifact spirit of the evil slaughter thousand streams flying. Who are you? How can you use the power of the ancient god Ruin? The artifact spirit's heart trembled. However, Mo did not answer him. She continued to use the power of the ancient god Ruin to attack the river of death. The terrifying attacks created a vacuum in the river of death that constantly collapsed. Stop fighting. I'll send you across the river. Mo's battle prowess was too terrifying. It deeply shocked the artifact spirit of the evil slaughter thousand flows, causing him to reveal a terrified expression. He was forced to beg for mercy. All right, send us across the river right now and I'll spare you. Mo glanced at Yi Chunfeng. Seeing his tacit approval, she ordered. Yes. Chapter 1826. Mo can you see if you can subdue it? Yi Chunfeng did not expect Mo to be so powerful. He wanted to borrow her strength to subdue the evil slaughter thousand streams. I'll try. Mo nodded. Standing on the other side of the river of death, she shouted at the evil slaughter thousand streams, wanting it to follow her. However, the evil slaughter thousand streams chose to remain silent. No matter how Mo shouted, it ignored her. Helpless, Mo could only give up. Forget it, Mo. If it's not willing to submit, then so be it. Yi Chunfeng also knew the difficulty of subduing a supreme-grade ancestral artifact. He did not force it. By the way, Mo, do you know what secrets are hidden in this ancient god Ruin? I can't remember. Mo tried her best to recall but found that her mind was in a mess. She could not recall anything. Forget it. Mo returned to the universe realm to rest. If I need you, I'll look for you. After saying that, Yi Chunfeng sent the mysterious Mo into the universe realm. Chingfeng, this little girl is too scary. She's definitely a void god artifact spirit. An existence that could make a supreme-grade ancestral artifact spirit submit was definitely a void god artifact spirit. It seems like the biggest secret of this ancient god Ruin is the void god artifact. Yi Chunfeng nodded. That's right. However, void god artifacts are the top existences in this world. Even if I recover to my peak strength, I won't be able to subdue them. However, you have the Chaos Divine Wood, so you can give it a try. Shin Daoshu nodded. Yes, regardless of success or failure, I have to give it a try. Yi Chunfeng knew how terrifying a Void God artifact was. If he could subdue the Void God artifact and use the artifact controlling Tao, even a peak ancestral almighty would not be able to withstand it. Let's go. Let's continue forward. Shun Daoshu suppressed his old injury and summoned a drop of god blood. He controlled the god blood to guide them deeper into the ancient god ruin. Yes, the power of the array. As they flew, Yi Chunfeng and Mo sensed the power of the array in front of them. It enveloped the area. What a mysterious formation pattern. Just who was it that left this formation here? As Yi Chunfeng approached the great formation that enveloped heaven and earth, he felt that this great formation was very terrifying, surpassing the ordinary ancestral formation. He became interested in the space of this great formation, wanting to see what kind of opportunity was sealed inside. "Senior, shall we go in and take a look?" Yi Chunfeng asked softly. "All right, let's go in." Although the ancient formation before them was extremely powerful, Shun Daoxiu was extremely confident in his own strength. He nodded and charged into the ancient formation that enveloped the world with Yi Chunfeng. Buzz buzz buzz. As soon as they entered the ancient array, Yi Chunfeng and his companion were immediately attacked by a large number of attack array runes, which instantly engulfed them. Break. Facing the incoming attack patterns from all directions, Shun Daoxiu gently took a step forward. As he did so, the 4 ancestral-level Dao diagrams emerged around his body, shattering and annihilating the attack patterns as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Godless Sword. As Shun Daoxiu broke through the attack array runes, the god-devouring brain rapidly deduced an opportunity to break the formation. His entire body instantly fused with the demon sealing sword. His sword pierced through the layers of array runes and stabbed at the weak point of the ancient formation. Ka ka ka. Under the attack of Yi Chunfeng's sword, a series of shattering sounds rang out in the restless ancient formation, and a huge gap appeared in it. Whoosh whoosh. With the gap open, Yi Chunfeng and Mo flew out without any hesitation. However, as soon as they flew out of the broken ancient formation, their expressions instantly changed. They discovered that they had entered an even more terrifying formation. The sky was filled with runes that poured down like a waterfall, carrying with them the power to destroy everything. They bombarded their bodies and posed a great threat to them. When they wanted to return to the ancient formation they had just entered, they discovered that the gap that Yi Chunfeng's sword had torn open had disappeared. Formation within a formation. Yi Chunfeng's brows were tightly knitted together. He didn't expect this ancient formation to be a formation within a formation using such a brilliant method. We're in trouble now. Although Shun Daoxiu was very powerful, the formation within a formation that trapped them was even more powerful. Since Shun Daoxiu had yet to recover from his injuries, he wouldn't be able to hold on for long. The formation runes that were like a waterfall could easily shatter the bodies of ordinary Ancestor Realm Almighties. Mo, quickly come out and help me. Yi Chunfeng summoned the Chaos Divine Wood, which turned into a towering ancient tree that covered the space above his head. While resisting the waterfall formation runes, he also summoned Mo, who he suspected to be the Void God Artifact Spirit. Mo, can you bring us out of here? At this moment, Yi Chunfeng no longer had any extravagant hopes for the ancient formation. He only wanted to leave this place smoothly. Let me try. Although the formation within a formation was very dangerous and the slightest discomfort would lead to eternal damnation, there wasn't a trace of panic on Mo's face. She blinked her big eyes and looked around. Let's go over there. Looking around, Mo stretched out her small white hand and pointed to the northwest of the formation. She ignored the waterfall formation runes' attack and flew over with Yi Chunfeng and Mo. The formation runes aren't attacking Mo. When Mo flew to the northwest of the formation runes that fell from the sky seemed to be very afraid of her. They didn't dare to attack her body at all, causing a vacuum to appear around Mo, greatly reducing the pressure on Yi Chunfeng and Shun Daoxiu. Open! As they flew, Mo suddenly stopped. She stretched out her small white hand and gently touched the chaotic space wall. In the next moment, a gap suddenly appeared in the space wall. Mo's body flashed, and she brought Yi Chunfeng and Shun Daoxiu through the cracked space wall. They disappeared into the extremely dangerous formation within a formation and appeared beside a pool that emitted dense spirit chi. Mo, you're too powerful. I realized that you're the nemesis of the ancient god ruins restrictions. Yi Chunfeng couldn't help but sigh as he watched Mo easily break through the formation within a formation and bring him away safely. If it weren't for Mo, he probably wouldn't have been able to take a single step in the ancient god ruin. Just the river of death alone would have been very difficult to cross. I don't know why either. I keep feeling like I've been here before and that this place is very familiar, but I can't remember anything. Mo tried her best to recall, but she still came up empty-handed. Mo don't think about it if you can't remember. I'll slowly unravel the mystery of your past for you. Yi Chunfeng softly promised as he rubbed Mo's head dotingly. Thank you, big brother. Mo nodded and said gratefully. As she spoke, a powerful soul ripple surged out from the pool. The ripples caused the quiet pool to violently tremble like boiling water. There's someone in the pool. Yi Chunfeng frowned slightly. He controlled the God-Eater brain to quickly deduce. He discovered a huge longevity stone at the bottom of the pool. An old man was embedded in the center of the longevity stone. Just as Yi Chunfeng and Shin Daoshu's powerful souls locked onto the old man hidden in the longevity stone, the old man who had been trapped in the pool for who knows how long opened his eyes. He slowly floated up with the longevity stone that weighed over 100 million kilograms. Chapter 1827. Who are you? Why are you trapped here? Yi Chunfeng asked in a low voice as he looked at the thin, white-haired old man embedded in the longevity stone, whose flames of life were slowly extinguishing. The heavens have treated me well. While I'm dying, I can still say a few words to an outsider. The thin old man had not seen a living person for countless years, let alone speak with one. Thus, he was very excited to see Yi Chunfeng and the others. After calming down, the thin old man said, I am Gu Taiyuan, a member of the ancient race. Gu Taiyuan, I seem to have heard of your name before. Shin Daoshu's deep eyes shone brightly. He looked at the thin old man and said, If I remember correctly, you are Gu Qianqiu's son, right? Who are you? Great waves surged in Gu Taiyuan's heart as he looked at Shin Daoshu in shock. He was shocked that someone actually recognized him. It seems that my guess was correct. Shin Daoshu revealed a rare smile and said, I heard that you were once a peerless genius of the ancient race, second only to your father. I didn't expect that you would be trapped here and stop at the 5-star Dao ancestor realm. You and I are from the same era? Gu Taiyuan's era was far too distant from the present. Those who survived all cultivated to the peak of this world. That's right. I am Shin Daoshu, from the same generation as your master. Shin Daoshu nodded and said proudly. Shin Daoshu. Shin Daoshu, one of the ancestors of the God race. The God race was the #1 race in the Void God realm, and Shin Daoshu was the ancestor of the God race. He was very famous in the entire Void God realm, and Gu Taiyuan had also heard of his name. Senior, wasn't it rumored that you died in the battle that year? The God race and the ancient race had a good relationship. When the God race was besieged by the other races led by the Celestials, the ancient race secretly helped the God race fend off the enemy. However, the enemy was too strong, and the God race's inheritance was still destroyed. The ancient race was also affected. Only my external incarnation died in battle. My true body is trapped in the tomb of the Great Void and has only recently appeared in the world. Shin Daoshu gave a simple explanation. When Yi Chunfeng saw that Shin Daoshu and Gu Taiyuan were familiar with each other, he relaxed his guard and asked, Senior, how did you get trapped here? What secrets does this primeval god ruin conceal? Since Senior Divine Void has arrived, I will tell you the secret of this place. This is the evil land, the ancestral land of the evil races. Back then, the celestial race's inheritance was cut off by the other races, but there were still many celestial race experts who managed to escape, including the celestial race's great ancestor, Shun Hinggu. The god race was destroyed, and many new races were born, including the evil race. The birth of the evil race caused great suffering, and it affected the entire Void God realm. In the end, it angered great ancestor Shun Hinggu. He used the Void God weapon, Universal Origin Sword, to cut off the celestial race's ancestral land and suppress the evil ancestor. He also used the Universal Origin Sword to suppress the evil god, who had just turned the world around and cultivated to the Void God realm. Gu Taiyuan revealed many of the secrets he knew. The Universal Origin Sword, the celestial race's #1 weapon, the Universal Origin Sword, is here. Shen Daoshu exclaimed in shock. The Universal Origin Sword was the celestial race's treasure, and it had unimaginable power. It could kill void gods and destroy realms. Even among the void god weapons, it was the top existence. Yes. Gu Taiyuan nodded and said, because the relationship between the ancient race and the god race was good, my master found out about this by chance. He ordered me to bring the ancient race's experts here to kill the evil ancestor and bring the Universal Origin Sword back to the ancient race. However, great ancestor Shen Henggu set up a shocking formation to protect the Universal Origin Sword, and the evil god also left many restrictions. Except for me, everyone else was killed by the restrictions in this space. I was severely injured by great ancestor Shen Henggu's finger, and I'm trapped in this formation, unable to get out. You were severely injured by great ancestor Shen Henggu? Is great ancestor Shen Henggu still alive? Shen Daoshu showed a hint of excitement. Shen Daoshu and Shen Henggu were both great ancestors of the god race, and Shen Henggu's overall battle strength was ranked #1 among the great ancestors of the god race, and he was even stronger than Shen Daoshu. If Shen Henggu was still alive and found the Universal Origin Sword, then the god race's hope of rising would greatly increase. Great ancestor Shen Henggu didn't die, but so many years have passed, and I don't know if he's alive or dead. Gu Taiyuan said. Gu Taiyuan, then do you know where we can find great ancestor Shen Henggu? Shen Daoshu asked. Great ancestor Shen Henggu severely injured me in the endless abyss, but the formation that trapped us is extremely powerful. I've been trapped here for countless years, and I'm still unable to break this formation and leave. Gu Taiyuan sighed softly. Is that so? This formation within a formation is so powerful? Shen Daoshu frowned slightly. Yes, this isn't an ordinary formation within a formation. It's a great formation that great ancestor Shen Henggu used space to carve and create. If we want to break this formation and leave, we first have to find the space carving and destroy it. Gu Taiyuan nodded and said, the space carving is erratic, and it's very difficult to determine its location, let alone destroy it. Do you have a way to find the space carving and destroy it? Yi Chenfeng basically confirmed Mo's identity. She should be the tool spirit of the Void God Tool Universal Origin Sword, which was why she wasn't attacked by any restrictions in the ancient god ruin. I'll try my best. Mo nodded and said, you want her to destroy the space carving? Gu Taiyuan's eyes widened as he stared at the cute Mo, trying to see through her. However, no matter how Gu Taiyuan looked at Mo, he couldn't see through her. After observing her for a while, Gu Taiyuan felt that Mo was like a cloud of fog, mysterious and unfathomable. Yes, Mo is the key to whether we can leave this place successfully. Yi Chenfeng nodded and handed her the death scythe, a top-grade ancestral artifact, and said, be careful. Don't worry, big brother. That formation within a formation can't do anything to me. Mo smiled confidently and cutely. Holding the death scythe, she slashed through the spatial wall and returned to the formation within a formation. Senior Daoshu, where did this little girl come from? Gu Taiyuan found that he couldn't see through Mo and became even more curious about her identity. If I say that she's the tool spirit of the Universal Origin Sword, would you believe me? Shen Daoshu said mysteriously. What, the tool spirit of the Universal Origin Sword? Gu Taiyuan's eyes widened in shock. However, soon afterwards, excitement appeared in his muddy eyes. If Mo really was the tool spirit of the universal origin sword, then there was hope for him to leave this place while he was still alive. As long as he could return to the ancient clan, he might be able to use the ancient clan's countless years of heritage to repair his cracks in life and live for another 10,000 years. As Yi Chunfeng and the other two waited in silence, a deafening explosion suddenly rang out from the terrifyingly powerful formation within a formation. Very soon, terrifying cracks appeared in the formation within a formation, and the power of the formation within a formation decreased. I am finally going to leave this damned place. Gu Taiyuan's emotions fluctuated violently when he sensed the power of the formation within a formation rapidly decreasing. Around an hour later, an earth-shaking shattering sound rang out from the formation within a formation. Mo wielded the death scythe and slashed through the shattered space carving, destroying the formation within a formation. Chapter 1828. Five-colored Godstone. It's actually a five-colored Godstone. In the Void God world, the best cultivation energy stone was the top-grade Saint Crystal. Above the top-grade Saint Crystal was the legendary Ancestor Stone. Even more precious than the Ancestor Stone were the five-colored divine stones that the Void God Almighties used to cultivate. They contained divine power and were very difficult to find. It could be said that five-colored Godstones were more precious than any ancestral pill or treasure to peak Ancestor Realm experts. With a five-colored Godstone, Shun Daoshu could use the divine power within to slowly refine his body and transform his Dao power, increasing his chances of becoming a faux god. Ching Feng, these five-colored Godstones are very important to me. Can you give me 5 of them? Shin Daoshu took a deep breath and suppressed the excitement in his heart. Of course. Yi Chunfeng was not stingy. He gave Shin Daoshu 5 five-colored Godstones and 1 to Gu Taiyuan. Gu Taiyuan was so excited that he repeatedly thanked him. Let's go. Let's go to the endless abyss. I hope ancient eternity is still alive. Shin Daoshu put away the 5 incomparably precious five-colored Godstones, then followed Gu Taiyuan through the layers of chaotic space and into the endless abyss. Senior, I can see that your life force is fading. This bottle of heaven-returning water should be useful to you. Although Gu Taiyuan had locked himself in the lifespan stone, he was still a 5-star Dao ancestor after the passage of time. His vitality and internal organs were deteriorating, and his battle prowess was greatly reduced. The primordial god ruins was full of dangers, and Yi Chunfeng needed an important battle prowess like him. Therefore, he wasn't stingy and gave him a bottle of heaven-returning water that could bring the dead back to life and nourish the body. Heaven-returning water. You actually have such divine water. Seeing Yi Chunfeng give him the bottle of heaven-returning water, Gu Taiyuan revealed a very excited expression. With this bottle of heaven-returning water, he could at least restore some of his life force and body's vitality. Junior, I'll remember your kindness. I'll definitely repay you in the future. Gu Taiyuan was not a bashful person. He took the returning heavenly water and drank it, quickly nourishing his body and recovering his severely weakened vitality. About 3 days later, Yi Chunfeng and the other two followed Gu Taiyuan to a crack in the depths of the primordial god ruins that looked like the mouth of a devil. This crack was the endless abyss that Gu Taiyuan had mentioned. What a powerful suppressive force! Standing on the precipitous cliff and overlooking the endless abyss covered by black clouds, Shun Daoshu's powerful soul force clearly felt that the endless abyss was filled with a powerful suppressive force, suppressing the entire endless abyss. He had no doubt that with his peak godly ancestor strength, he would be suppressed by the strong suppression force in the bottomless abyss. Moer, what can you feel? Yi Chunfeng asked softly as he looked at Moer, who was wearing a long white dress and looking increasingly otherworldly. Moer frowned and said in disgust, I feel a very disgusting power down there. It seems that Hingu is hiding here to suppress a powerful ancestor of the evil clan. Shin Daoshu said slowly. Let's go down. Although Shun Daoshu had a premonition that the bottomless abyss was full of dangers, he did not shrink back. He took Yi Qinfeng, Gu Taiyuan and Mo and flew into the bottomless abyss. They passed through layers of black fog and flew to the bottom of the bottomless abyss at an extremely fast speed. As they flew to the bottom of the bottomless abyss, Yi Qinfeng and the other two were affected by the suppressive force in the space. Mo, who was tightly held in Yi Qinfeng's arms, was not affected at all. However, the disgust on her cute face became more and more intense. After an unknown period of time, the four of them finally reached the bottom of the bottomless abyss. When Yi Qinfeng held the moonlight stone in his hand and illuminated the entire space, he discovered a dark golden ancient tablet that was over 30 feet tall. It was engraved with the ancient seal character suppress, and the powerful suppressive force that came from the endless abyss was released by this ancient tablet. Below the ancient steel sat two white-haired old men who were all skin and bones without a trace of life. Ancient eternity. Although the two old men's bodies and faces had long since withered and deformed, Shun Daoshu could still recognize one of them with a single glance. It was Ancient Eternity, the leader of the 6 great ancestors of the god race. "Grandpa, don't get too excited. They're not dead," Mo said softly as she glanced at the two old men who were sitting cross-legged. "Really?" Yi Qinfeng and the others all looked at Mo. Mo can sense that there's still life in their bodies. Mo nodded and said, however, their life force is very weak. If we want to save them, we have to break that ancient steel. Okay, I'll go break it. Ancient Eternity was extremely important to the god race. If he could be saved, the god race would have hope of rising again. Moreover, Ancient Eternity was related to the Myriad Origin Sword. "Wait, Senior." Yi Qinfeng suddenly called out to Shun Daoshu, "Now is not the best time to save Senior Ancient Eternity. You're saying we have to deal with the peak evil ancestor first?" Shun Daoshu had already sensed the evil power in the old man opposite Ancient Eternity and guessed his identity. The evil race has an undying body. I'm afraid that if we blindly break the ancient steel, the peak evil ancestor will use the undying body to recover his strength. Yi Qinfeng nodded and said, "I have a way to deal with him. Once I control his brain, we'll break the ancient steel and save Senior Ancient Eternity." Thinking that Yi Qinfeng had the brain of the soul devourer, Shun Daoshu suppressed the impulse in his heart and nodded. "All right, then I'll leave everything to you. Mo, do you have a way for me to get close to the peak evil ancestor?" Yi Qinfeng asked. "I'll try my best." Mo revealed a serious expression. She stretched out her small white hand and quickly tapped. Every time she tapped, she could mobilize the power of the ancient god Ruin and gather it in her sharp fingertip. She kept tapping on the space suppressed by the ancient steel. After about an incense stick's worth of time, a huge gap appeared in the space suppressed by the ancient steel. Seizing this opportunity, Yi Qinfeng summoned the soul devourer that had just been born and took the risk to approach the peak evil ancestor who seemed to have one foot in the grave. The moment he approached the peak evil ancestor, Yi Qinfeng immediately felt a powerful evil power enter his body through his pores and devour his blood and life force. Chaos Divine Wood, devour evil power. At this critical moment, Yi Qinfeng controlled the Chaos Divine Wood to extend tens of thousands of 5-colored roots and devour the evil power from the peak evil ancestor to protect his body. Then, he quickly struck out the soul devourer's brain, allowing it to touch his withered white hair. When it touched the peak evil ancestor's head, the brain of the soul devourer flowed through his 7 orifices and into his soul sea, eroding his brain and consciousness. Roar.